your beautifully renovated bath. Get a online bath plus free delivery at the Home Depot. Subject to availability, see homedepot.com/delivery for details.
It's time.
You know what time it is?
Game for Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show.
The biggest goal of our team,
especially in the first half,
we at Bama, we're trying to be the best.
Always is to win a national championship.
Something cool to look back on.
We don't want to waste a failure.
You're inside the game.
John Mechie on the ground.
Appreciate your interest in the game.
On your home for Alabama sports.
Alabama wins.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. Now, here's your award-winning host, Ryan Fowler.
Oh, what a day, what a day, what a day. I'm going to ask you, are cigars good for a couple of years? Like if you buy a Victory cigar and like you go to one of our great sponsors, R&R Cigars. Now you can enjoy that. Might be a birth of a child or a grandchild, or maybe you're celebrating, I don't know. I mean, maybe a playoff spot. Do you still believe that there's a playoff spot? Just asking. 24-17, Alabama loses to Tennessee. What a nasty, nasty performance. We're going to talk about it. We're going to dive into it. We're going to probably place some blame. We're going to probably be a little irrational between now and 6 o'clock, and we're probably going to have some really good comments. We're going to have some comments, and we'll certainly get into some guests as well. Josh from College Football Nerds is going to be with us, and you say, why on a Monday? Well, we needed explanations, man. We got to get some explanations, so Josh will help us dive into that. Alabama goes on the road and plays one of the sloppiest games I can remember in some time. We thought that this team would be progressing in this direction. Instead, they're regressing, and it looks sloppy. And when you look at it from a Kalen DeBoer perspective, where does Alabama go from here? Where can they go from here? Do I still believe in Kalen DeBoer? Absolutely. That has not changed when you look at the way that he handles this program. And I think once he gets his guys in, then yeah, you could look at the expectations. But right now it's going to be he's at a crossroads in the early part of this tenure, and you could point out a lot of different blames. But, you always talk about the quarterback. The quarterbacks get praise. He gets criticism. Jalen Milroe, not his best of days, right? This is not one that he would love to be able to burn the tape. A 56% completion percentage. He played rusty, and I know Josh put up a stat. You've really got to go back and you look at quarterbacks' ratings. You got to go back for several years to be able to find a quarterback that just couldn't hit the blind side of a barn. I mean that's the old statement, but it was true on Saturday. 2 interceptions, sloppy play. But it wasn't just him, right? It wasn't just one reason that they lost the game, and I'm certainly we'll point that to him. We'll look at the rushing attack. We'll look at the receivers. But it all starts with that quarterback, and the body language was awful. Wyatt, I know you were there on the TV side of things. Every time they would zoom in, I'm not sure if you had a chance to go back and watch the TV copy, but you see a lot from a game, but you also miss a lot from being at the game. But the body language, if it could say words, like if there was closed captioning, it would be what the blank is going on. What is going on? Because there was a confusion that I haven't seen from Jalen Milroe in quite a while. But there was something there that he was not comfortable. The crowd, I'm sure, had a part to do with it. But, hey, breaking news, when you go to Baton Rouge in 3 weeks coming off the bye week, it's going to be loud. And it may even be louder than what it was in Tennessee, because when you think about it from a standpoint, you had the halftime lead. Yeah, you should have been able to capitalize on more points, but Jalen Milroe looked confused, was not very comfortable, and even times when you look at it from an opportunity standpoint, just did not take advantage of the opportunities. The defense gave you some of those opportunities, and you felt like that Tennessee was winning, even though the scoreboard was misleading, 7-0. So we're going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by Daniel Moore Art. The bad and the ugly is sponsored by Alabama's play. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat this. I mean, you can't come in and say, well, hold on. No, you got to call it the way it is. I mean, that was a nasty, ugly, sloppy performance. Anything that you want to say is probably true around this football team. And where do they go from here? They say they block out all the noise. Well, this might be a week that you could hear a little bit of that noise, right? Maybe the noise motivates you. Maybe that doubt, and I'm so tired of hearing that stupid Lank stuff. I mean, I know we embraced it, but at some point, you got to let all the naysayers know, because all the doubters right now, They're taking victory laps. They're stomping on your grave. And right now, Alabama doesn't have enough pride to kind of say, oh, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go fix it. Well, we're going to see. We're going to see. And I think we're going to know a lot about this coaching staff, this style, if they can flip the script. Now, because if they can flip the script, because their back is against the wall, right? You don't have any margin of error. Because at this point, 9-3 is probably not a playoff team. 10-2, you would feel like a playoff team. But in realistic standpoints, I don't know if you gave me $10 and you said, Ryan, you got a choice. You can go get you a Happy Meal down at McDonald's, or you can go get you a $10 bet, and we're going to pay you 35-1 odds. No, I'd take the $10 and go down to the McDonald's, even though I'd probably pay for it a few hours later. That's where I would take the $10. I wouldn't bet on this team making the playoffs, because right now they don't look like a playoff team. They look like a team that is going to be lucky to get to that 9-win, 10-win. I mean, when you think about Missouri this weekend, okay, yeah, sure, you should be able to beat these guys for homecoming. Then you got to go to Baton Rouge. And I know LSU's got Texas A&M, and we'll see where they go from here. But LSU looks like a little bit better football team. And as long as there's a lot of hesitation, because Jalen Milroe's success on that offensive side of the football is his willingness to run the football. And right now, I don't see a lot of that. And Kalen DeBoer addressed some of that when you look at, well, is there an injury going on? There was a lot of buzz yesterday, but I've not been able to confirm any of that, right? There was a South Carolina, but, you're 7 weeks into the season. Everybody's going to be a little bit banged up, especially when you're his style of player. But it was not his running ability. It was the passing ability. And we have blamed everybody and their mama against. I mean, think about it. I mean, I lose the list. Where you guys want to start at? You want to go Bill O'Brien? Do we want to blame Bill O'Brien for the poor performance? Do we want to go Tommy Rees? Do we want to go Nick Saban? I mean, we blamed them all. We've blamed wide receivers. We've blamed centers. Now we've got Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan. We can put some responsibility there. Well, at what point does it circle back and say, well, if he's not grasping it, then he's just not going to grasp it. It has been a change of a coordinator. It's been a change of a head coach. And you still see a lot of the bad habits, whether it's his fundamentals. Was talking yesterday with someone who knows a lot more about playing that position than I do. And you look at his basic fundamentals, it's like, yeah, you can be coached out, but when you're in the battle, you're going to fall back to those bad habits. And that platform is not very stable. So we'll get to some comments. We'll get your phone calls, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by Daniel Moore Art. That's going to be a challenge when you look at the good moments, because I don't know what they would be. I guess you could say turnovers, penalties. No, you had 15 of those. I mean, Alabama's one of the worst penalized teams in the country. 130 out of 134 teams. When you look at Alabama on the penalty yards, 15 penalties. And it's almost when they come, it's the undisciplined. It's the way that this team plays. Do I believe they can flip the script? Yeah. Would I bet on it? Not right now. Not right now. I'm too conservative. Let's take phone calls at 205-342-9904. And we'll go to Paul in Lincoln. Paul, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Ryan, do you know how hard it is for me to enjoy Auburn getting beat in Columbia, Missouri after that performance by Alabama in Knoxville?
It was a challenge. It was a challenge as it was. I mean, you couldn't even enjoy the Auburn loss. You couldn't even enjoy the come from behind victory for the Missouri Tigers because Alabama looks awful. I mean, if you didn't have the record attached to them, let's say that you looked up and you said, hold on. This Alabama team is 5-2 and 2-2 in conference play, and you just watched the performance, you'd think this was a losing team. You would think this team had a losing record.
This team peaked as they walked into the tunnel at halftime against Georgia. This team peaked right there.
They did.
It's been a slow regression since they walked off the field at Bryant-Denny into the halftime locker room. I can't even embrace the suck. That's S-A-U-C-K, and that A-U stands for Auburn University.
At this point, is it spelled S-U-A-C-K?
I was about to ask the same thing.
Yes, U-A. Man, you took the words right out of my... Who said that?
Wyatt said that.
Wyatt, man, give that man a post-game Tennessee loss cigar. That was spot on.
I think
That's
we've got
exactly
a bunch of those
where I
laying
was
around
going.
here. I think we got a bunch of those. We got a bunch of those. And
Why? That is exactly where I was going. What an abominable performance. And listen, Ryan, I don't listen. This is my opinion. My opinion amounts to about the value of a bottle cap or some lint, which is nothing. My opinion means nothing. But Ryan, that was one of the worst quarterback performances I've seen in quite a while.
You can't even sugarcoat it. I mean, the Jalen Milroe apologists. You can't even sugarcoat it. Listen, I've been on this guy's side. I have
too.
I have given everything. When you're talking about mulligans, it's no longer time to give mulligans. I mean, that should be the strength of your team is a quarterback that's able to do the things that we know he's capable of doing, and you have to place blame on him. It's on the other 21 guys, but a lot of this falls on Jalen Milroe. The plays were called; he just couldn't execute them.
Right? Is there any more Milroe for Heisman T-shirts available?
No, I think those have all went to South America. I think those have all went to South America.
Did those get shipped out Sunday morning? Okay,
okay, they're gone.
Listen, these guys. This is right where the players wanted it. This is right where the bureaucrats wanted. They wanted NIL. They want these guys. Listen, these guys. This is as close to pro football as you can get, and you'll see where I'm going here. These guys are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year with their podcasts, with their link, with everything involved in this new era of college football. So listen, you're making that kind of dough. You're making that kind of money. You've got access everywhere on social media, on the internet. Hey, I have no problem calling these guys out. I don't care if they're 17, 18, 19.
Jalen even had a tweet after the game. I'm trying to think what it was. Sorry about the loss, but if you don't mind, can you buy a hoodie?
Got you. That tells you, not just him, that just tells you where the mindset is. Ryan,
let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm going to find it, but it was, hey, win or lose, the hoodies still look good. Yeah, here it is. But he put a scripture up, which is good. Bama forever, not just when they win. Grab the hoodie here.
Well, okay.
I mean, whatever. Unless that's a fake Jalen Milroe can, it looks like a real one to me.
Yeah. Playing Tennessee and beating Tennessee is a privilege. Wearing that crimson jersey is a privilege. Something I was never, ever going to be good enough to experience. But to go up there and look the way they did, and you're right, the body language was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. He turns something. As I watched the game as it unfolded, something's not right with to me. Like I said, this is my opinion. I don't care if anybody, you can agree, disagree, you can call me whatever you want. I don't care. This is just my opinion. Something seems off with him. Something really.
The body language is the part that was evident to me. Watching him,
Ryan. He turns that his biggest strength is his leg. That's his biggest strength. He's turning down contact. He doesn't want to get hit. He'll find the nearest sideline, or a blade of grass can tackle him. The young man is turning down contact. That is his gift. He's a 235-pound young man, built like a Mack truck. And listen, his throwing skills are not his greatest skill set. His ability, or should be his ability, to run the football. And he just to me turns down contact. Go back last year. Look at the Auburn game. It's 3rd and 15. He's got a 20-yard head start, and he's running at least, it looks like, 25 miles an hour, and the DB from Auburn comes up to him, and he instead of running over him like he could have, I mean, this guy's got a 20-yard head start. Instead of running over him, he tries to do a little juke, and he gets stoned right there, and it's 4th and 1. Now, listen, I know we went ahead and converted 4th and 1, 4th and 31. I get all that, but he looked as bad throwing the football Saturday as I've seen in a long time. What did Steve Sarkisian do? I know they lost the game, and they deserved to lose the game because Georgia absolutely stoned them. Okay. Well, what did Sarkisian do when Quinn Ewers
He put his starting quarterback on the bench.
He put him on the bench for 2 or 3 series.
And sometimes that's a help. Sometimes, I mean, the bench has never been a bigger motivator. And we saw last year, Jalen Milroe responded to being benched at South Florida.
He did. And listen, putting in Ty Simpson, or it may not have been Ty. It could have been Lonergan. It could have been Austin, whoever. And listen, and they may not have done any better than Jalen Milroe. They could have even looked worse potentially. I doubt it. I don't think they could have looked any worse. But at least, you're trying to give the offense a spark. Maybe something's missing. Maybe he's off. It wasn't no maybe to it. He was off. He missed some wide open receivers. They were so wide open. And to me, the play that really convinced me that something just does not seem right with him is late in the game. He gets flushed out of the pocket, running to his right. Ryan Williams cuts his route off and starts coming back towards him, towards the sideline, and Milroe throws the ball, and he bounces it about 10 yards in front of Ryan Williams, which it looks like a pretty normal throw on the run for a so-called big-time college football quarterback. But he bounces the ball about 10 yards in front of Williams. That just showed me this guy doesn't need to be on the field. And that's like, again, Ryan, this is just my opinion, okay? You can agree, disagree. My opinion means absolutely nothing. But it's my opinion, so I'm going to say it. Ryan, I've been seeing some stuff on social media. And social media is about what it's worth,
sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
But there's been some things that I've seen from a pretty, at least in the past history, that this person seems to be, he has gotten some good information. He may be what you would call a quote-unquote insider.
Okay.
That basically there's some of these players, he's got this coaching staff by the gonads. And making it pretty hard.
It's pretty easy argument. I mean,
so you've heard some similar things.
Well, I haven't heard them from anything in the building, but just from the observation standpoint, I would probably lean that way.
Yeah. Well, it's obvious something's amiss.
But I think that's the same around college football. You can't look as good,
Ryan. I know. But Ryan, how could you look as dominant as you did the first half against Georgia? How can you look that good?
Yeah.
And then it just,
there's no doubt something is missing. Cliff. Yeah.
Exactly. Ryan, 3 weeks ago, this team was ranked number 1 in the nation. Number 1 headed to Nashville to play Vanderbilt. And it has completely come off the rails since then.
Well, and Paul, I don't want to disappoint you here. It's only going to get harder. Because now the recipe is, what do you do to Jalen Milroe? What do you do?
You go after him.
You take away his deep ball, and the short intermediate passes are not his strength. And it almost looks like the offense, they want to do something else, but the quarterback's not capable of doing it.
Well, then let me tell you something, Ryan. What is the object of having a backup quarterback? First and foremost, his role is, if the starting quarterback is injured or gets injured during the game, you got to have a backup. You got to have the fallback guy. That's your backup. And that could be at any position, not just quarterback. But if the starting quarterback is injured, he goes in. What if the starting quarterback is failing to produce in a football game? What's it going to hurt to put your back.
I mean, heck,
just
bring
for a
Kendrick
series or two.
Law in
What's it gonna
and
do?
run the Wildcat for a couple of plays. I mean, a series. I mean, it's not going to hurt. I mean,
no.
That's the issue. It's like the consequences. The consequences of doing nothing compared to the consequences of doing something. You almost have to take a risk. And listen, I think we're going to learn. Listen, I still believe in Kalen DeBoer. I'm going to let you go after this, Paul, and I will take more phone calls. I believe in Kalen DeBoer. I think he's going to be able to get a lot of this fixed. I think you're going to have to give him time. I hear a lot of the foolish talk. It's silliness, okay? It is. When you think about, I mean, this early, you're going to have to give him a chance to be able to incorporate what he wants to be able to. Because, listen, Jalen Milroe is his quarterback, but in a lot of ways, it's not the style of play that he's accustomed to, right? But that's not Milroe's fault. I think they've tried to adjust what they try to do. But it's just not. I mean, the communication is poor. I spoke with someone inside the building. I will tell you that there was offensive linemen that were running the wrong play on Saturday because of communication mistakes. Now, is that because of the communication because of the crowd? Is that communication because they heard a different thing? But hey, I can tell you, if there's one guy doing something else and the other 10 guys are doing this, it's going to look awful. And it did Saturday. Hopefully they can get it fixed. Paul, I appreciate you, man, as always.
I know, Ryan, listen, the Missouri game, it's 50-50. But if this same team goes to Baton Rouge and play like they did in Knoxville, LSU will run them out of the stadium. Absolutely run them out of the stadium. Okay? Roll Tide and roll MAGA.
Thank you, Paul in Lincoln. We'll take more phone calls. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. Let's go back to Kalen DeBoer talking about Jalen Milroe. We'll do that in 3 minutes. QD and Q06, maybe two different folks there, but up in Indiana, he said body language worse than Trump serving French fries at McDonald's. Very fake. Okay. All right. Q6 up in Indy, sharing some comments there. Robert in Mobile, we're going to get to you. We'll take more phone calls. Super Joe, Wayne in Northport. We're going to take a lot of phone calls this first hour. In a few minutes, we'll talk to Josh from College Football Nerds coming up at 3 o'clock as we are powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. Conversation with Josh from College Football Nerds. Josh is going to join us coming up at the top of the hour, 3 o'clock. I know he's got a lot of things to say. We've moved him up this week, and we appreciate him being flexible. But you guys, you're the ones who requested that we get Josh on a little bit earlier because we may need some explanations. And Josh is a guy that can help us from a College Football Nerd standpoint. He'll talk about it coming up at 3 o'clock. Let's continue with more phone calls. We go to Robert in Mobile. Robert, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, man.
How are you, Robert?
What
the difference of 3 weeks makes, man.
Well, although that guy who says that it's fake and in Trump, what's fake about it? Hands someone's fries. You either did it or you didn't. So I don't see the fake there, but whatever.
Well, what's fake is telling somebody that you worked at McDonald's, but you really didn't work at McDonald's. But we won't be, we won't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, whatever. What a big difference 3 weeks to make. It's like first half of the Georgia game never happened anymore. We said that losing to Vanderbilt kind of snuffed that out really quick, and the response after that has just been abysmal. We were hoping to see players come out with their hair on fire. You got Malachi Moore kicking the football. Well, okay, maybe now you guys will have some passion. And then we see that they come out, with like a dud in the South Carolina game, and again.
This may feel like a double standard. Like, I want the loss to mean something, and Malachi Moore was frustrated because of the way his team played. Okay, the way that he and his team played. I don't know if I'm as forgiving with the Kendrick Law situation. That one's costly. I mean, that is a mistake, and that's a leader, which certainly Malachi is too. I mean, a captain, but Kendrick Law is a guy that really put his team, behind the 8 ball, and I'm sure nobody knows that more than Kendrick Law does.
Again, if the officiating had been worth a flip, but that's why you can't put anything in their hands. because you don't know what they'll do. That should have been, offsetting penalties because it was right in front of the guy.
How much of the penalties, and I agree, the retaliation always gets it, right? I mean, I don't know what was said. I mean, whatever the reaction was, I'm sure it was probably there. But you got to be able to control. But the problem is now Alabama has become such a heavily penalized football team, and they have been for not just with Kalen DeBoer, but it's been in years past, that now all these officials are calling it because they know that Alabama's making a ton of mistakes. So they go in with a game plan. They're scouting Alabama going, my heavens. Yeah, I mean, you're right, the officiating, but that's the margin of error that you don't have in the college football structure.
Well, when we were dealing with the Big Ten officials, that didn't seem to be the case. They seem to be able to call it fair down the line, but we don't seem to get that with SEC officials. SEC officials, they say it sucks, and it needs to be addressed, no question about it. So they need to work on that.
100%. I'm not disagreeing with you. Greg Sankey, you should be embarrassed of the product that you roll out there. But, Robert, as much as I would love to blame officiating didn't lose Alabama the game.
Oh, yeah. No, you get 3 turnovers in a half, you should be putting the team away. And, like you and Paul correctly pointed out, the old adage that, not giving criticism to the players doesn't apply anymore when you start making money. The old adage was they're not getting paid, the student athlete is not getting paid, so let's back off on the criticism. Okay, well, now that, you lose that, folks. You lose that, guys, when we start giving you money. Well, or you start making money, and I'm fine with you making money, but criticism comes along with that. So here it comes. There was definitely Miro went from Heisman front runner and maybe a first round draft pick to let's not even talk about the Heisman.
I want to throw a hypothetical out there. I want to throw a hypothetical out there for just a minute. This is a real big stretch. But I'm gonna stretch it anyway. It's a Monday. We're doing Monday morning, Monday afternoon quarterbacking a little bit. Because now you have so much financial gain, not for the players, but the people behind the scenes. Is there any chance that someone told Milroe that he needed to adjust his style, that he needed to show that he could be that pocket passer, that he could show those intermediate throws? Because there's a lot of advisors, quote, advisors, that are looking for the future going, I'm going to cash in off someone's play.
Yeah, well, it's possible. There's no, I mean,
it would probably better explain some of the struggles.
But, it's the looking at gaping holes and you're not taking them. I know everybody's seen it. Dude, you had an opportunity to run there and you didn't, and you're just looking at it. It's things like that, and of course you missed your main man, Ryan Williams, wide open, and you overthrow him, or you're not giving him catchable balls. Your play has definitely regressed to now. Now you may be a third day guy right now. And where you're playing right now.
I don't know. Quarterbacks are such a premium. I don't know if I would go that far.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't. Definitely. Right now, I can get it back, maybe. But his play Saturday was definitely a huge factor, and he had to the quarterback play. We still win the game. We still win the game running away. And it's decision making that it's like, dude, if you run, you take off running, you'd be amazing how quickly all those passes open up for you. But if you refuse to do that, then all the teams have to know is, we'll give him that hole. He won't take it. Let's focus on him not being able to run, him not being able to run or throw, and dare him to throw, make a pinpoint pass. Well, that's going to keep happening to you. There's a lot of opportunities that were just simply missed because of either inaccurate throws or just simply not running at all. And like you said, our lack of commitment to running, especially when we were first and goal on the 4-yard line. and he throws the interception. That's a play call in there. I'm throwing the ball. I'm running the ball 4 straight times. You got not forget running 3 straight times. I'm running it 4 straight times. You got to prove to me you're going to stop me 4 times running the ball. We're going to try one run. It doesn't get a whole lot. It doesn't get anything, and then we immediately go back to passing. And he to a fade route. That okay? Has he thrown that pretty well? Now I heard Martin maybe suggest that maybe he could be injured. He does look like he may be injured. Well, if that's the case,
Kalen DeBoer addressed some of that today and said that there was not an injury that would prevent him from doing what he's able to do. So that's kind of and hold on, Wyatt's got it. Wyatt's got the audio. We'll play the audio. So I know that narrative was out there because I heard it, and I've been chasing it for about 24 to 36 hours because I was looking for a rebuttal. I was looking for a reason to say that Alabama struggled because of this. And when you look at it, there's just not a lot of there's not a lot of evidence right now behind the scenes that can back that up. I've talked to too many people in the building. It's just not there. I thought it was. If I would be doing this show tomorrow after or yesterday afternoon at 2 rather than today at 2, I'd take that up. I would say that there's a possibility. I don't think there is. I don't think there is an injury.
Yeah,
based on the information that I have. And hey, listen, let's go to Kalen DeBoer. Wyatt's got it. Listen here, Robert. I'll let you react to it, and then we got to go to break. But this is Kalen DeBoer being asked about the Milroe and the possibility of being injured.
Yeah, I think at this point in the year, I don't think there's many guys that play a lot of snaps who don't have something, and just working through it. But he's more than capable, and as he goes through the week, you're just ready to play on Saturday. So there's nothing that's going to be holding him back from going out there and being able to help us get a win. Confident of that.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, I was going to say if he was injured and Ty Simpson still isn't in, then what's their confidence about Ty Simpson? If he got injured, you rather play injured Milroe? But like you said, I guess he's not injured, so there's that out the window. It's of course, like someone said, the most popular person is always the backup quarterback. Sure.
Oh yeah. And I'm not saying it needs to be a backup quarterback, but there's got to be a message that's got to be received. You've got to counter if there is a message that's being pushed out there. Hey, listen, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to worry about the NFL draft. You've got to be able to do this to prove. Well, then you counter that message and said, well, you can't do any of that from the bench. It's the ultimate motivator. It's the ultimate motivator. But hey, Robert, I got to run. I'll let you finish real quick.
Oh yeah, but and it could go like okay. Well, how's about giving a guy some more of an opportunity? I mean, I guess he hasn't beaten him out in practice, I suppose. But Texas, they tried 2 quarterback system. It didn't work for them, but they did try it. So, maybe we can give it a little more of a look than we did before, just to see if we can get a spark. Because right now we don't have anything. There's no spark. We need a spark.
0.
Maybe a change in position can give us that spark. And people say, well, you benched him again. It's giving somebody else an opportunity. That's what it is. So, and it is what it is. But, we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
All right, Robert. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Let's continue here. TheStandardBama.com, home of the 20-inch pizza pie, pepperoni, meat lovers, cheese. Design your own. The mac and cheese bites, the cheese sticks. TheStandardBama.com, University Boulevard, full-service restaurant, also available by DoorDash. Carry-out, also available. TheStandardBama.com. And as Kalen DeBoer said, wasted plays. How did you not capitalize on 3 penalties? 3 turnovers? Wasted plays. I mean, that was his words. We'll continue with more of Kalen DeBoer audio. We'll get back to the... We're taking your phone calls. We are taking your interaction. We're going to take yours at 205-342-9904. The Good Moment, sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. DanielMooreArt.com. Celebrate that Legends print. Now, the Nick Saban autograph prints they're gone, right? They're out. No more Nick Saban autograph prints. They had 250 of those, and those have all been sold. But if you're looking, because the Nick Saban prints, once his retirement, it's just like anybody, whether you're collecting baseball cards, they go pretty fast. I will tell you that the Legends prints are going at a rapid pace. So if you're thinking about the Legend Nick Saban limited editions print, You can go to danielmooreart.com, danielmooreart.com, and you can check out the special code when you celebrate those special moments. The code is the game, no space, the game, significant discount. Also, when you look at, when you check out, we'd ask that you would tell them about it, that you heard about it right here on the game. But they do have limited edition prints available. Deuces Wild is also the other one that features Ryan Williams. What a big play. And think about where this football team would be without Ryan Williams. You can see the preliminary drawing at danielmooreart.com, danielmooreart.com. Deuces Wild, Xavier Brown able to take that interception, and then also when you look at Ryan Williams, that 75-yard pass, and think about what that means. I mean, that play means a lot, but what if that play didn't happen and you were sitting here with 3 losses? You're sitting here with 3 losses. The season, from an Alabama standard, would be over, right? Yeah, you got still things to play, and you got some way to establish, and you got some building blocks, but how big is that play right now? It's gigantic. Where would this team be without a 17-year-old young man? You want to cancel that in? Whew. My. Super Joe, good afternoon, sir. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Hey, what's going on, how you feeling, man?
Not worth a darn.
That's why I said not worth. I just feel like you're not worth a damn. Let me just hear. You know,
we can sugarcoat it, but why should we?
You know, I don't see no point in this, but you know, I'm gonna say it all fairness because right now this is a disappointment so far. Okay, losing to Tennessee and the way we played, because it's gonna have to be some adjustment. Maybe with Kalen DeBoer's system. Okay, maybe there's not the communication not where it should be. Maybe it's a little bit. Maybe his spaghetti that he's cooking out there is just a little too different from what it was. Maybe he could have just stuck with the format that was planned out there for him. But I understand you got to do your own thing at some point. But here's what I'm looking at all this here. I could say like this, you know, I mean, he had a good program set out there for him, and I think he's being a little too casual about this. I mean, I think Kalen DeBoer is handling this a little too mildly. And one thing I just happen to notice, I don't see security, you know, really gathering around Kalen DeBoer like they did Coach Saban. You know, I don't see people really, even when I went to what they call that place, the Baumhouse Victor.
Yeah, but Super Joe, that's not by like neglect. That's what Kalen DeBoer wants. He doesn't want the security side of things. Now he may need it, but at this point, he doesn't feel that that's necessary. Okay, Nick Saban did, and the university kind of goes, and it's up to the coach's discretion. But I don't think Kalen wants that from an attention standpoint. He doesn't need. Cedric has been around here for a long, long time, and Cedric is a friend of mine. I think I've talked about how much Cedric means to me personally, but I go from a standpoint of Cedric working with Coach Bryant and Coach Perkins and Bill Curry and Coach Stallings and Mike DeBose and Coach Fran and Mike Price and Mike Shula and Nick Saban. That role has pretty much, a lot of times, it does change. Mike Shula didn't use a lot of that either, but he had more now. Kalen doesn't need a driver to get him to work. Kalen doesn't need that. Cedric is still in the athletic department, but he's working for Coach Saban, and does an amazing job of doing that. But just Kalen DeBoer's request.
Yeah, no, and okay, that's good. Well, you know, you got to run it the way you choose, but right now I'm feeling like this. You know, I'm a little nervous about LSU, which that's a game.
As you should be.
Oh, LSU always made me nervous, even when Coach Saban was here. I was nervous about LSU. It's just like when we're pit bull, when we're getting ready for a dog fight, it's always a Rottweiler with a certain kind of neck that we're not so sure we're going to be able to squeeze. Now, and I'll tell you, you know, I got to say this, you know, right now, because if we really don't get, I mean, we're gonna be looking at it about 2 more losses if this ain't got together. Because I mean, I'm very nervous about this, but I'm glad the Mercer tickets dropped. The Alabama Mercer, it went down $8, and the high is probably gonna be $25 to $40. And I might work with
Super
that.
Joe, that's your biggest concern after Alabama lost to Tennessee is Mercer.
Hell no, that ain't my biggest.
I mean, why
my concern is, are we gonna be?
Listen, if you're looking for...
That's the bright side. That's the bright side.
Oh.
That's the bright side. The ticket price is getting cheaper. But the problem is, if we're not gonna win any more big games, it's gonna cause a lot of people to have PTSD. We don't make the playoffs this year. I can see right now a lot of people going to the nursing homes after the end of the season. Because right now, and especially if we don't get it next year, I'm afraid that hot seat is going to burn into the lake of fire. Things are going to be shot to hell.
Well, and if Kalen DeBoer, I know that he knows what the Alabama job and the expectation is, but if he didn't already know, he knows now.
Yeah, because right now, because I'm gonna tell you right now, he's gonna have to be sending out some resumes by the end of next year if this don't get together.
And listen, Super Joe, I've said it a couple times. I still believe in this coaching staff. I know others have pointed fingers, and really a lot of it is they put their feet in the sand and they're not willing to budge. There is some problems, and this, we're going to see, because we still believe that Kalen DeBoer is a great football coach. And we're going to see. Now, listen, if you come out and this team plays as sloppy as they did against Missouri here at homecoming, they go to Baton Rouge, get their head kicked in, they come back, they beat Mercer, they go to Norman, Oklahoma, they get their head kicked in, they come back, they play sloppy against Auburn, then maybe our opinion it will change. But Super Joe, you're a great analyst. How much do you put of this on Jalen Milroe?
Well, I'm put a little bit of something but Jalen Milroe, I'm gonna get the blocking was poor. So when he walked over his shoulder, that's on the offensive line, because ain't no quarterback gonna be good unless he got an offensive line and some weapons to throw to. Now, from my understanding, Jalen Milroe got into it with some Tennessee fans out there in Knoxville. He was of course I can't blame that man. He was defending his son. Yes, there's a way to conduct yourself as a fan, but when somebody talks about your kid. Come on, don't tell me that don't get up under your skin. That's just like if some man come up there, let's just say you in Auburn, and then let's say I'm going to the gymnastics, Alabama playing Auburn, and then some man makes a bad remark about your dog. Let's say your dog was a gymnastic, and a fan makes a bad remark about your daughter. Tell me that won't get up under your skin and won't cause you to have some words or get ready to fight. So some things are just totally provoking.
It would. But, that's when you go to hostile environments, that's what you expect from Tennessee fans. This bunch has not won a lot of games, and they won. They're probably going to let all the anger out that they've had to tolerate for the last few years. Super Joe, I appreciate you, man.
Pick up hot now.
Thank you, Super Joe. 205-342-9904. We'll take your phone calls coming up here in just a couple of minutes. We'll take those.
205.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, let's continue taking phone calls. We got Josh from College Football Nerds coming up. Let's go to Wayne in Northport. Wayne, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Good afternoon, Ryan. I'm doing fine considering the outcome of the game, and I just want to say that especially Paul and Robert's call, I can't agree more with what Paul and Robert had to say. I'll just say that. And I think it's time we look at trying another quarterback. Like you said, we had these problems last year and 2 years ago, and at what point, these guys are getting money now. This isn't the old days where the old college try was good enough. These guys are getting rich. And if a guy can't perform, that's the reason there's other players on the team.
Well, and I'm not saying that there needs to be a different quarterback. But at some point, if the message is not received, the motivator is the bench, right? It's the biggest motivator out there.
Yes. And the biggest problem
I'm not saying for an entire game, but a couple of series when you know that he's struggling, maybe that's the opportunity. And I'm not Kalen DeBoer, don't claim to be. I think when you look at his offensive identity, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Sark tried it. It didn't work, but he tried it. With his quarterback situation, he tried something and it sparked him a little bit. It was just they dig too big a hole. But I think if it continues, you're going to have to look at a change because, look, we got a pretty good recruiting class right now, and if this season comes off the rails in the NIL era, not only are you recruiting a new roster for next year, you're recruiting your current roster.
You are.
And you got a chance to lose some players if you don't get it right.
Well, and go back to recruiting for just a couple of minutes. You got to be able to sell that this offense is going to be willing to take that big step, right? I mean, you understand that, hey, we're going to utilize, because that's a part of the sales pitch. Just the same with Nick Saban selling the defensive side of the football, and you had all these linebackers, defensive backs, defensive linemen lining up to play for Coach Saban. Well, if the offense sputters, you say, okay, maybe this system doesn't work. And I'm not saying it, but hypothetically, you could be used in the recruiting trail from a negative standpoint.
Yeah, other schools are going to look at it and say, really? We can put you in this position. So these guys are getting paid now. Criticism comes with the job, and Jalen did not play well. It's that simple. The intermediate routes, as you say, is not his strength. And if he's going to play at the next level, he better be able to throw intermediate throws, or it's not going to work. We'll have a good day, buddy.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. We'll go to Josh from College Football Nerds. He breaks down.
Ooh, baby,
We welcome you right back into the game. We're always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyline Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. How about a new Tundra, Tacoma, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive? How about a 4Runner? You can find the pre-owned inventory available, many different 4Runners to choose from. It is Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. Let's go to collegefootballnerds.com, collegefootballnerds.com, CFB Nerds on the Twitter account. Find him on the YouTube channel. Him and his colleague Daniel break down a lot of college football, and we're going to focus on the University of Alabama and Tennessee. Josh, I hope all is well. Welcome back into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Josh, I never box you in with this one question. What went wrong in Knoxville for this Alabama football team?
It's hard to describe that as anything but an offensive meltdown, right? I mean, Alabama in that game scored 17 points. They only had 314 total yards. That was actually a long game. They ran 79 plays. Because Tennessee's such a tempo team, their games do tend to run quite long. And so 314 yards doesn't sound that bad, but when you break it down per play, I mean, 5.3 yards per pass attempt, 2.2 yards per rush. We say that's about a third worse than what I would consider confident in a game in both stats. And so, that's a great recipe for losing the game. It's particularly jarring when Tennessee gave Alabama 3 turnovers, and they couldn't really turn that into points. But let me just jump to it. I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. Since Jalen Hurts lost the national championship game in 2016 against Clemson, okay, Alabama has 2 games in that 8-year span where they had under a 100 quarterback rating. The first game was South Florida last year with Tyler Buchner and Simpson in a rainstorm. The second game was Saturday at Tennessee. This was the second worst quarterback performance of the last 8 years for Alabama against any opponent. Everything flows from that. Again, 5.3 yards per attempt, 2 interceptions thrown. When I went down and actually did some breakdowns of the play charts, just trying to figure this out, Alabama actually had the ball 14 times in that game. And now for comparison's sake, you take like the Vandy game, they had the ball 8 times, 9 times if you count the pick six. So it's about 50% longer than that Vandy game, and they had the ball 50% more because, again, Tennessee runs tempo. The game drags out a lot longer, and you only score 17. You scored about a point per possession. Alabama, beginning of the year, was averaging 4 points per possession. And in those 14 drives, 7 of the 14 drives ended in a series where Jalen Milroe either made a critical negative play or made an incompletion to an open receiver without pressure. The first series, he drops the snap. I think that was the second play. Second series, he misses 2 open receivers in a row. End of the game, multiple times he misses open receivers in a row. And I know there are a lot of other things going wrong in that game, and I'm not disputing that. But Alabama had a lot of opportunities to succeed in that game. And again, there's just no sugarcoating it. That was the worst quarterback performance by an Alabama quarterback in at least 8 years. And you cannot play winning football when half the drives in the game, your quarterback has basically thrown away an opportunity to get first downs, if not score touchdowns. It's just completely unsustainable to play winning football like that.
When you look at Jalen Milroe, is there a certain part of the game in your eyes that's struggling more than the other parts?
Yeah, it's interesting and hard to nail down.
Sure.
With QBR, so something that gets really confusing for everybody when they look up quarterback stats. There's quarterback rating, passer rating, which is the old stat. There's also this thing called QBR and ESPN. That's actually something they made up. It's a proprietary stat, kind of uses their own formula. Nobody completely knows how they calculate it. But when you see QBR does not mean QB rating. It's the most confusing thing in the world, but it's ESPN's branding, so it shouldn't really surprise anybody. But if you look at like QBR this year, okay, with Jalen Milroe, he obviously had a great game in that Georgia game. And in that game, his QBR was about 100, which is about as good as you can get. He was 98.8 QBR. And I would say average for a quarterback is somewhere between, probably 70 and 80. And I say average meaning a very average quarterback. Bad is anything below 70. I think what a lot of people think is, he's played really well in the last couple games. He's been bad. But, that's not really completely true, because Western Kentucky game, he was at 99. Georgia game, 98.8. Wisconsin game, 91. But South Florida game, he was at 39. Vanderbilt game, he's only at 77. South Carolina game, he's at 74. Tennessee game, he's at 65. Of the 7 games they've played, they have 3 that were over 90, and they got 4 that are under 80. And that metric basically it's not just completion percentage and everything like that. It's taking the effect of your positive plays and the effect of your negative plays. Basically, what's the value of a given play? And the number of negative plays that he's created or generated in a lot of those games has been so significant. Like the Vanderbilt game, you have a pick six in the opening possession. You have a fumble that turns into a touchdown. Alabama's trying to take the lead. You also have another possession where he throws the ball past the line of scrimmage on third down, and ends up giving Vanderbilt a short field for a score. Those plays have really outsized outcomes. So the biggest thing I would say with him is, I would say sort of decision-making and the ability to consistently make just positive plays. The ability to say, hey, there's nothing there. I need to take off and run for 5 yards. It's been weirdly not there for him. There's a play in that game where he's kind of getting contacted and he throws to Kendrick Law, and they talked on the broadcast what an amazing athletic play. But if you go back and rewatch that, he gets contact because he drifts into a defensive lineman that's being blocked, and he has a wide gaping hole to his left that he could have scrambled or run for 7-8 yards with no problem. He had 2 wide open receivers in that play. It's kind of astonishing. I mean, he gets so locked into his primary read, and people talk about it was 18, 20 targets for Ryan Williams. And if that's open and working, he puts up gaudy numbers because he's going to throw it deep and he's going to throw to his guy a ton. But when that's not there, he just kind of constantly tries to force it. He has the worst interception to touchdown ratio in the SEC right now in conference play. 5 touchdown passes, and SEC play to 6 interceptions. He's the only one negative like that. Not even Thorne is that low. And so that's a huge component. But, I'll say even a step further, Ryan, the end of the game, the thing that's way more concerning to me if I'm a coach watching that tape is his passing mechanics and accuracy were just bad. He missed, over the course of that game, he probably missed at least 12 throws to open targets where he simply missed them by 5, 10, sometimes 15 yards just off target. And the mental part, you can sort of chalk up to a road environment. Look, he has always struggled in games where the other team does not allow you to run the football. It changes the way he has to play the game, and then he has to press, and things go downhill. But the inability to make accurate throws on a consistent basis, that's not something you can survive. Because it doesn't matter if the other 11 guys on the field, if they all do their job perfectly and the quarterback misses the receiver, that play goes for 7 yards no matter what. It is the one position that you cannot survive a mistake on. And the thing that ends up being the most concerning to me was maybe 25% of his throws in that game were just uncatchably off the mark, and that's just not something you can play winning football with when you play a high-level defense.
I know we say, well, you switch and you possibly look at somebody else, but can you see the adjustments to make this work with Kalen DeBoer and Jalen Milroe?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you say work. So here's my thing with that. Alabama played what might be the number one defense in the country.
Okay.
Tennessee, statistically, in our system, ESPN's FEI, they're somewhere between the number one and number four defense in the country. The only ones up that high otherwise would be Texas and Ohio State. I mean, they are a phenomenal defense. South Carolina, in most metrics, somewhere hovers around fifth or sixth. They are one of the best defenses in the country. They blew out Oklahoma for a reason. For everything Oklahoma was as a vaunted defense, South Carolina is much better. So Alabama's played two top six defenses the last 2 weeks. There's a reason they've struggled. I think with what they're trying to do with Milroe as a complementary runner and passer, throwing the ball deep, all these things, there are not many teams that have Pierce. There are not many teams that have Marvin Stewart that South Carolina had. They're not going to see this pressure for the rest of the year. None of the teams, not Missouri, not LSU, not Oklahoma, not Auburn, they do not have the pass rushers those two teams have. Alabama has a decent shot to go 10-2 or 9-3. And if you say, can they fix this or make it work? If you're okay with 9-3, yes, they can get to that mark. He's going to look a lot better against other teams because the competition is going to go down. Now, if you say, can you make it work for him to win a national title? Just being honest, my answer, I think, is no. We saw this last year in the Michigan game. He threw for 5 yards per pass attempt. I think they have 100 yards passing in the game. He cannot process when they play a team that has a good pass rush where you have to make decisions relatively quickly. He cannot process zone defenses fast enough to get the ball out consistently and accurately without generating negative plays at a high clip. He just cannot do it. And the other part of that, Ryan, is what do you do about replacing him? I don't know. I mean, people are going to call for Ty Simpson. The problem with it is I can't tell you if Ty Simpson's going to be better because, again, I think they can get to 9-3 readily with Jalen Milroe. I think they have a decent chance getting to 10-2. But the question is, are you okay with 10-2 going to the playoffs and losing in the first or second round, probably second round, just because they'll probably play a bad Big 12 team round one? Or do you actually want to win a national title? And I'm not sure they have a quarterback on their roster to do that right now.
All right, you went back and studied Kalen DeBoer's offense, and I was talking with someone yesterday that has done that, and I know that you have as well. When you look at this offense, how far are what we seeing with our eyes for the first 7 games does it look like Kalen DeBoer's offense is being implemented, or are they really restricted because of the strengths and weaknesses all coordinators adjust to the personnel. I get that. But how much are they handcuffed with Milroe's limitations?
What they're running right now does not resemble a lot of what they ran at Washington. I'll say at least that much.
I had someone tell me the exact words that you just used right there.
The way this offense is supposed to be operating, there are a lot of reads and decisions that need to be made pre-snap. You and I have talked about this for 2 years now. Jalen Milroe's biggest problems are pre-snap. He does not know how to get the offense in the right position to run the right play. He really, there were back-to-back delay of games in that Tennessee game where he's really struggling to manage pre-snap alignments, communication. And when you can't do that, there's a lot of things you can't run. They want to be making a decision on where do we have leverage? Are we going to run the ball? Are we going to throw the ball this play? And they want the quarterback to be checking that. They want the quarterback to be deciding, hey, we've got numbers. We want to run this way on this play. Hey, this game, they walked up to the line of scrimmage. They're showing blitz. We want to throw over the top. And they want the quarterback to be able to make that decision at the line of scrimmage so that whatever the defense is showing them, they can, take what the defense is giving them, as Saban used to say. I have not seen any indication that Milroe has that flexibility. The other thing that's a huge component of that offense is actually they really like to run the screen game. It's very important. Anytime you have a team that likes to throw deep, DBs start backing off. They start running a lot of zone. the way you attack off coverage, the way you attack heavy zone coverage, teams are going to blitz you really heavily, and they play a light zone in the back end, and that's something Tennessee did a lot. They're basically saying, hey, we're going to drop 3 DBs deep. We're not going to let you throw deep on us or it's going to be an interception, and everybody else is going to come to you, so that ball's got to go short. The way you attack that is you throw wide receiver screens and tight end screens a lot because you get the ball out very quickly, and you probably have numbers with the receivers and tight ends to block that play on the outside and at least get significant yardage. Jalen Milroe, and this is what I'm saying, this is one of the hardest parts about it, he is not accurate enough to run those plays. They have tried in the South Carolina game. They tried a little bit early in the Tennessee game. He consistently misses those throws. You have to have really good ball placement. Throw that upfield shoulder, let the guy catch and turn and run. Weirdly, back in the day, Blake Sims at Alabama wasn't a great quarterback, but he was really accurate and good on those short, direct throws. Milroe is just a very different passer, and he can't run them. So there's this whole section of the playbook actually built around that short passing game and screen game that they're just not running. Frankly, Tennessee has the same problem. They can't really run it with Nico right now. You don't see a lot of wide receiver screens in that game with Alabama. And I don't know if people remember when they played them the past couple of years, they ran a lot of screens, but they can't run those plays. It's not in the playbook. So those things are really, I think, offensively breaking a lot of what Alabama wants to do. And they're kind of trying to replace it with those outside quarterback runs to keep the defense honest. But, that just doesn't work when you're playing a team that's getting as much pressure on the edge as Tennessee did. There was nowhere for him to run.
All right. I know you said that Alabama will not play a defensive like this as far as this aggressive of a front. As you said, FPI and your metrics also show this is one of the best defensive in the country. But if you take away the deep ball and you're not good at short intermediate passes and you're not good at running the football, what can you do?
Well, that's the problem. I think the answer is you can manage the game, take opportunities when they're given, don't turn the ball over, don't take negative plays, play field position, try to advance the ball. And a lot of times you do have to, you may not be great on deep shots, but you've got to take shots where they arise. And for the most part, you've got to run the ball when you can, try not to lose yardage, try not to turn the ball over, and you'll take some deep shots. And look, you just got to, on 14 drives, if you hit 2 or 3 deep shots, you can score 20 points on an elite defense. And that may be all you have the ability to do, but that's what you've got to try to do. What you can't do is what Alabama did in this game, which is that they shot themselves in the foot more times than seemed humanly possible. What was it, like 15 penalties, multiple turnovers? And that's, not even counting things like the drop snap that wasn't even a turnover, but that killed a drive. You can't do those sorts of things.
How about the pre-snap? Can you, and I think you pointed out something. I cannot get this out of my head. When you look at the crowd, how much he was dependent on Nick Sheridan in his ear with the new rules, and that was taken away by the noise Saturday. Is that a fair statement?
Seemed to be. There was also more audible low in the play clock than I've seen from him. We talked about in that Georgia game that why did they keep snapping the ball, outside 15 seconds, and why didn't they bleed more clock? And I told you I thought it was because they want Milroe to be constantly running the play when Nick Sheridan's able to talk to him, which is up to 15 seconds of the play clock. This game, they were constantly doing stuff, 5, 10 seconds on the play clock. And that's Milroe out there on his own, crowd noise or not. And that, that confuses the life out of me why that happened. And I kind of wonder if a lot of that was communication and just poor execution to get lined up early so they end up late in the play clock. There's a lot of noise, and now all of a sudden he's on his own. But certainly there's some, there was definitely something to the fact that crowd noise caused a lot of communication issues for them. And they were not running that offense the way they want to run it. They were not lining up the way they want to line it up. And offensively and defensively both, it's pretty clear this team, if they're not communicating well, they don't play well once the ball's snapped.
Josh, Keon Sapp is going to be out for a significant amount of time. He's going to be down for a while, according to Kalen DeBoer. There's been other reports out here that it may be a broken foot, that he may have played a lot of that game. Maybe that's what Kalen was referencing following the game. How do they adjust?
And Greg McElroy actually said that he played 3 quarters in a broken foot. So I would assume he's connected enough and would know. But, you know, they're going to play Hubbard more. I thought Hubbard played surprisingly well in that game, I will say. There are some athleticism issues showing up defensively with so many guys banged up. I didn't think Hubbard was really a problem. Maybe it will be against a team that can throw the ball better. I thought the Mac kid that came in at nickel, because they lost Devontae Smith, then they lost Red Morgan, and they played Mac. He was a problem athletically for them. There was a big run, I think in the third quarter, they got on the edge. May have been Nico that ran it. And that play worked because Mac was not fast enough to set the edge, and he actually got the guy run by him. He couldn't turn and run with him. So some of the guys they have playing now, I think, may actually understand the positions better. I think there'll be fewer busts. In some ways, I thought Hubbard played better than Sabb did because he was just in the right spot more often, especially supporting the run. The problem they're probably going to run into is when they play higher level receivers. And, you know, Luther Burden is one of those guys at Missouri. So is Weiss. I don't know how well they're going to be able to run with them. So they really got to get healthy in the back end. And they may have to do more to protect the safeties. I'm just not sure. Tennessee wasn't really equipped to stress them that way.
It is collegefootballnerds.com, collegefootballnerds.com, CFB Nerds on the Twitter account, YouTube account. You guys have got a comprehensive breakdown of this Alabama and Tennessee game, Georgia, Texas, all of the above. Tell me more about collegefootballnerds.com because you got a lot of people that are looking for more information that you and I can dive in 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, you can go and see us on YouTube, College Football Nerds. If you just search on YouTube, you'll find we have a lot of content. We do top 10 videos and talk about an overview of the week. And then we usually pick a couple games a week and do deep dives. You know, we've got some, unfortunately, this is a side hustle for us. We've had some really serious personal issues that we're having to sort through medically with our family members. But, you know, we're still trying to put out as much content as we can, and as all the support we can get is good. You can also go to collegefootballnerds.com and see a lot of the statistics we do. We have a computer model you can run yourself and model any two teams against each other. And you can follow us at CFB Nerds on Twitter. And we put out a lot of statistics and just random thoughts we have throughout the week. But, yeah, Ryan, I mean, it's an interesting week. You know, we haven't seen Alabama lose 2 games into November since Saban was hired. And can I ask you a question, Ryan?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
At this point, what is it that you think Alabama wants to let the naysayers know? Because I've just been wondering all weekend, man, if you're gonna have that T-shirt and you're gonna go around and that's gonna be the motto for the team, it feels like you got to back it up. I mean, am I wrong? Am I out of line to say that?
It's very simple. They're letting the naysayers know that they were correct.
Yeah. And hey, maybe the team will prove us all wrong. Maybe, you know, Jalen Milroe at home is going to play better. Maybe they're going to play well. Again, I think Alabama can go 10-2, but it is frustrating as an analyst that all the negative things I said about Milroe. By the way, I had a lot of negative things to say about Ewers going in that Georgia-Texas game that Texas fans lit me up over. And all those things get proven true, I feel like, every time they end up in a big game against top defenses. And it's just kind of who these guys are. So, you know, you rewind, you improve. But, you know, you got to improve and have a little bit of humility, right?
Well, it's frustrating from a standpoint because you feel like that there's a lot of hinges on this one year, and momentum is the game of college football. You grab it, but it's season momentum, right? You needed a start, high explosive, and you got that in some games. But, you know, I have to go back and ask the question about Ryan Williams. Where would this team be without him?
You know, I'll tell you one thing on that I think people overlook. That Georgia game, Alabama got out to 28-0. Jalen Milroe was completely unstoppable for about a quarter and a half. Georgia adjusted. They were getting killed on the edges. They could not stop the run on the edges. We talked about that on this radio, that I thought that was a problem for them. They figured that out schematically. You know, the next 9 times Alabama had the ball, you know, from the midway through the first quarter, the next 9 times they only scored twice. 1 field goal and 1 circus catch by Ryan Williams, where he made half the Georgia defense look silly all by himself. And to your point, if they don't have Ryan Williams, they are not winning that ball game. So if they don't have Ron Williams, I don't think they're beating South Carolina. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, this football team overall, offensively, I think they're extremely talented. I think they are as talented as any other offense in the country, and they are not producing. And if it wasn't for having probably the best receiver they've had since Devontae Smith, he's definitely the best receiver they've had since 2020, but one of the best they've ever had, I think. This offense would be letting them down, I think, on the regular. And that's alarming.
Josh, collegefootballnerds.com, collegefootballnerds.com. Josh, I appreciate you so much, man. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you again for making time for us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me on, Ryan.
Thank you, Josh. College Football Nerds, collegefootballnerds.com, CFB Nerds. We're going to break here. We'll come back. We'll go to Barrett's. Eatery, 205 University Boulevard, 205-758-2455. If you're looking for a great sandwich close enough that you can smell the championships, it might be a little stressful over there because it's close enough to smell the championships, but you can probably feel the tension a little bit there. Nuke's Eatery, 205 University Boulevard, but you're going to have a great meal, sandwich, salad, California-style pizzas, the French dip sandwich, now added to the daily menu, the soup special, which is an option as these weather begins to drop in the evening. I don't know about you, but I love eating the great soup that they have. Loaded potatoes, always solid. I love the chili as well. You can find those options. Maybe you can combo that sandwich, salads, soup combo. Either way you want to do that at the California-style pizzas as well. Let's go right now to Barrett Sallee. You can find him on SiriusXM College Sports Channel 84 every Sunday. You can find him on Outkick, and you can find him on the Smothered and Covered podcast. Barrett, welcome to a very depressed Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Hope all is well.
Well, you know what makes you a little less depressed is that French dip from Nuke. I tell you what, when I was leaving Tuscaloosa after the Bama-Georgia game, like in the middle of the night, I drove by and I was like, oh, man, what I wouldn't do for one of those right now.
French dip sandwich is incredible. The Nuke's Q sandwich is really, really good, but the French dip, I thought it was I thought they were going to take it completely off the menu because it was a seasonal special. It did so well that they added it to the normal menu. It's incredible. It's fun. Barrett, let's go to Alabama, Tennessee. 11 million people watched it. ABC marked the first time since 1996 a network had two regular season games, including Georgia and Texas. That was over 10 million on both games. And it comes via, two upsets when you look at Tennessee beating Alabama and Texas getting beat by Georgia. But let's go to Alabama. Your biggest takeaway.
Yeah, the fact that Alabama, honestly, I picked Tennessee to win, and kind of what we saw was why I picked Tennessee to win. Alabama's undisciplined. They commit too many penalties. The offense lacks an identity. So all those things together, I wouldn't say that exact Alabama team is the one that I thought we'd see, but that's basically been Alabama's identity for the entire season, save for Wisconsin and, 2 quarters against Georgia. I honestly was surprised that Tennessee's offense was so bad for a third straight week. I mean, that was Dylan Sampson. If he just had a little bit of help from Nico, they'd be so good. And we're just not seeing it. It's almost like they've stopped putting faith in their quarterback. They found a way to get through it, obviously. And, for Alabama, they're undisciplined. They lack focus. They lack attention to detail. They seem like they're 85 guys going 85 different directions now. It's just, it's a mess. There's no doubt.
All right, for the first 97 minutes of the show, we've placed a lot of that responsibility on Jalen Milroe. In your opinion, is that fair?
No, that's not fair.
Okay.
Quarterback always gets too much praise and too much blame and blame. So, I think to me, it's not Jalen Milroe's fault that everybody's making penalties. The penalties are not only bad penalties; they're at the worst possible time. It's not Jalen Milroe's fault that Malachi Moore kicks the ball against Vandy. It's not Jalen Milroe's fault that Kendrick Law punches a Tennessee dude, which those should have been offsetting penalties, incidentally. I'm not sure how that was not called. But that's not Jalen Milroe's fault. I think the biggest thing to me is why should it be on Jalen Milroe? It should be on the quarterback. if anybody, like, look, I'm not saying that there's no fault for Jalen, but if the overarching theme is that it's on Milroe, I think that's misguided. It's the staff. It's the lack of discipline. I mean, if Nick Saban had two receivers jump up and pretend to shoot jump shots on a 4th and 1, those people would be not only kicked off the team, they might have been permanently banned from Tuscaloosa. I mean, that would never happen. So it's on the staff. It's been on the staff. Sure, there's lack of execution. Fine. Why is there lack of execution? Because the staff doesn't have these guys prepared for anything.
All right, so when you look at that, it's obvious that Jalen Milroe has, from Kalen DeBoer's perspective, that he's had to adjust. That's what good coordinators do. Good offensive-minded guys adjust to the talent. But this is not Kalen DeBoer's offense. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement. I think, though, for me, watching that game, it almost felt like they were holding Jalen Milroe back from running. I don't know if you felt that too, but
do you feel that was on him, or do you feel that was on?
I think it's on the staff.
Okay,
I think it's on the staff. Like, why would Jalen care if you run? Like, what if he gets? It's not like he's scared of it, right? So you go back and look at what Michael Penix did. He didn't run. I mean, and honestly, not nearly as talented in terms of on the ground as Milroe, but they didn't even try to do that. I think maybe they're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And Milroe is not, his strengths are not being used in a way that they were last year. So, is Jalen making some poor decisions at times? Sure, of course. Is he trying to force things? Yeah. Can you blame him? I can't blame him. Someone's got to do something. And, he might as well be the quarterback, and sometimes it's gonna blow up in his face. But I think with this particular team, it's far more than just a quarterback. There are so many issues, and they go all the way to the top.
All right, let's go to the defense's side of the football. I thought the defense played much better than maybe I anticipated that they would. But at the end of the day, the offense couldn't get off the field or couldn't stay on the field and keep the defense off the field. And I know the time of possession's a little bit skewed. It really didn't show that as far as time of possession. I think Alabama led the time of possession. But to me, the overall, when you look at the defense, the secondary, having to plug in, Keon Sabb, now we've learned that he's going to be out for a significant amount of time. I don't know. You give up 24 points, but I thought the defense overall, pretty solid performance.
Yeah, that was an ugly first half on both sides, but Alabama's defense made it ugly for Tennessee. It was a very impressive performance. And, what you just said is exactly what happens with bad offenses. Say the same thing about Auburn. Say the same thing about Oklahoma. You can only put it on the defense for so long, right? You can only put it on the defense for so long until the dam breaks. And, that's kind of what happened. That being said, Nico made a great throw to Brazzell. Nobody can stop that. It was just perfect. But Alabama's defense was fine. It's just it ran out of gas. There was so much pressure put on it that it finally cracked. And look, what you said is exactly right about time of possession. It doesn't really show. It goes to something that Bobby Cox and Leo Mazzoni used to say about pitchers. There's 100 pitches and there's 100 stress pitches. There's a big difference between the two, right? If you have an easy game and you get to 100 pitches in the 6th inning, you're probably feeling great. If you've wiggled off the hook as a starting pitcher over and over and over again and you get to 100 pitches, you're probably worn flat out. And that's kind of where Alabama was defensively.
I think you're onto something right there. Barrett, where does this team go from here? Do you have faith that they can correct the problems and be a playoff team?
No, I don't have. I don't think there's any reason to believe that it suddenly is going to change, because it was like this against South Florida. It was like this, when they blew a 28-point lead to Georgia. They found a way to win it, but they still blew the lead. It was like this against South Carolina. It's every single week that it seems like it happens. So this is just the identity of the team this year. And yes, that means they're going to lose another game. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And even, let's just say I'm wrong, right? A 10-2 Alabama team that has looked, there's a thing called game control, and they sometimes look at that, the computer systems in the committee rooms. That is one of the inputs you can use. Alabama doesn't have that. They really don't. So yeah, to me, they've got a great win, obviously, with the win over Georgia. The loss to Vandy is not a bad loss. Tom Luganville and I made that pact on SiriusXM that we're no longer calling a loss to Vandy by anybody a bad loss. But it's not a great loss, So I think they'll lose another game along the way. No idea where it is, because honestly, they could lose to anybody at this point. But yeah, I don't think if someone tells you that, yes, they have faith that this thing can be turned around, it's blind faith, because from what we've seen on the field, there's nothing to suggest that it would suddenly turn around.
Barrett, so many different things. I mean, wow. When you look at the world of Alabama Crimson Tide football, there's a lot of darts being thrown at Kalen DeBoer. You mentioned a couple of minutes ago, it all goes back to the top. How much should this hurt the confidence? I still believe in this coaching staff. I still believe that Kalen DeBoer, giving him the right amount of time, getting his personnel in here, that his system will work. There needs to be some adjustments.
There does, but I don't think it's the system the system's a little bit of a problem, but it's just the lack of attention to detail, right? It just doesn't seem to be there. That doesn't mean he can't change. He very well might change. But, square peg, round hole, offensive scheme, sure. Defense playing better, but not as consistent maybe as you'd like. Okay, fine. All that stuff, yeah, that can be fixed. But the just lack of discipline, the lack of attention to detail, I don't know how you fix that if you've done it one way for 20 years and been successful, I mean, there probably is a way to do it. But I think to me, that's where it has to start. He has to look in the mirror and say, I am doing this wrong. Not ask, but flat out say, I am doing this wrong. And then go forward from there. The schemes, they'll take care of themselves. He's a smart guy. He will put players in the right position to succeed on the field. But between the ears, it doesn't feel like that they are there at all.
Yeah, it just seems like something's missing. The discipline, I almost describe it as, and I've tried to use different words, the substitute teacher, but I almost feel like it's the stepdad too. It's a stepdad version, right? I can't enforce them because those are not my kids, but in reality they are. It's almost like they're, and one of the guys said this a couple of minutes ago when you look at it, it's almost like the players, but I don't think this is different from Kalen DeBoer. Players now have the coaches by the gonads. They do. And I think the stepdad thing is actually a really good way to look at it, because really these kids are still safe. Yeah. But here's the thing, and I'm going to extrapolate further from that though. They're Saban's, but remember what he said after the Rose Bowl, where he basically said that this team wasn't together and there were guys kicking helmets, and he seemed really disappointed with just the overall personality of last year's team. Well, do you think that it could have just been a thing that was happening for multiple years and Saban didn't realize it until last year? Because maybe that's the case. And if you have a situation where, I'm not saying it's an asylum, but generally speaking, the players are running things more. It's not the inmates running the asylum, but players have more control. And in fact, they do have more power. It could be just something that's lingered within that program, and it just was bubbling under the surface, and it came up in the Rose Bowl, and now it's boiled. That's the story. Barrett, Smothered and Covered, get it where you get your podcasts. You can find him on Facebook. You can find him on the Twitter side of things, straight up at Barrett Sallee. You can find him on Outkick. You can also find him on Sirius Channel 84 every Sunday. Hey, Barrett, I appreciate you, man, for being a part of the show, and prayers needed and appreciated. So thank you.
In our business, though, Ryan, content is king.
Yeah,
you got
but
it.
I'd rather take one for the team here in Tuscaloosa. Okay? I'd rather them beat Tennessee so bad that we don't even have anything to talk about. I mean, we're just sitting here just trying to make up stuff. I mean,
king.
Yeah. But that's not the case. Maybe I need to call like Baton Rouge and see how they deal with losing seasons, or maybe there's a.
You could call somewhere in Lee County, I would imagine.
Do they? Okay, maybe there's a sports talk host over there that can train me, because I really haven't dealt with this in my radio in the last 17, 18 years. I was on radio prior to Nick Saban's arrival, but it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. Well, welcome back down to earth.
Regression of the mean. Regression
That's
to the
right.
mean. Thanks, Barry.
I got a little more kick in my draw, y'all. I got a little more spit in my jaw. And my
More to Houston coming up here in just a couple of minutes, and we've got Greg in Athens. I see you, but let's go to William in Pennsylvania. William, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Very well. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm good. Thank you for calling in. Really appreciate the opportunity to visit.
Great. Are you getting along okay at home all by yourself with the dog?
It's been a little bit of a struggle. Let me say this. It's kind of like Kalen the Boar. They're testing me, okay? Mom's not at home. She's the enforcer, okay? The dog is testing me. She's getting into stuff that she would never get into. So I'm trying to decide, do I get the enforcer out, or do I just wait till Mom gets home and all the behavior will be corrected?
Go strictly to bribery. Give her as many treats as you can give her and let Mom get her thing.
Okay, you brought it up. I went to the pet store yesterday for that purpose right there. I went and got a gigantic bone. I mean, this thing is like a 3 foot long, okay? And I'm like, this will entertain her until my wife gets back. Yes, it will. Yeah. So
perfect. Well, I guess I just got to say, I went to Knoxville, and two of the things you told me to be afraid of, we were afraid of. They play that Rocky Top song all day long, and I got a migraine that won't go away. And
it's the only song they know. It's really the only song they know. And it's not
they're hillbilly. You are 100%.
Yeah,
they're hillbilly.
They are.
And my wife said, "Don't ever bring me back to Knoxville." That was the conversation.
Smart lady. Yeah.
But I just got to say, I think Barrett.
No. Do it away, Wyatt. He's trying to punish us. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
but I think Barrett's call was right on. You have to put this on the staff. And there's a couple of things I just want to bring out that makes that point. When the defense is attacking like they did in the first half against Georgia, Carson Beck looks terrible. And then when they go on their prevent defense, we look terrible. We're not making adjustments. We didn't make any adjustments in that second half of the Georgia game. We made Kirby Pickle look really smart. That's not good. The other thing is we can run the ball. We were at the game when Jam was running the ball. The announcer was just, instead of singing that song, he was saying, Miller 5 yards, Miller 5 yards, first down, Miller 5 yards. Yeah, Jam got nicked up, but Justice could have come in and done the same thing. It's on DeBoer and it's on his coordinators to put his players in positions to make them do what they can do. And you got to remember, when DeBoer came in, the thing everybody said is, this is great. This is the perfect guy because he takes his players and he builds the system around them.
He does.
So, so when we say things like we have to wait for his players to get here, I'm not buying that. The thing that made me most scared about Kalen coming here is I love the guy. I'm 100% behind him. I'm behind the team forever. But the thing that made me the most scared is neither one of his coordinators are SEC trained and battle proven. And in the SEC, you saw what Saban did. Saban was bringing in guys like Bill O'Brien, Lane Kiffin, Sarkisian, Kirby Smart. You got to have coordinators that can make the adjustments. So we are not making adjustments.
I mean, William, when you look at it, that's why I think when you look at this upcoming decision, if they adjust or if they move some things around, this is a very important decision. I think it's a very important decision for Kalen DeBoer. I think it's a very important decision for this locker room and the future when you think about it. I mean, right now, Milroe's struggling. How do you get that life preserver? How do you throw him? What can you do offensively that can settle him down a little bit?
You know what I think they can do? What they did in that Georgia game. Throw those shorter passes, when we're talking about the line, how long you're actually the ball's in the air. The shorter passes to the tight end. Remember when he was throwing to Dupree in the middle of the field and they were getting 8, 10, 15 yards every time he did that? Where'd that go?
Well, but your tackles are not where they need to be, and you're having to keep them in. I mean, you're having to I love the tight end involved. That's why I don't think that this is DeBoer's true offensive identity. I think we'll look back 3 years from now and we'll go, man, that first year there was some growing pains because he gets the tight ends involved. And right now they're having to keep the tight ends because your right tackle is Elijah Pritchett is just not the focus that it takes to play right tackle in this spot. I can tell you at least 3 different plays. He ran the wrong play on Saturday. Wrong play.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
completely. How often? Yeah. I mean, how often does that happen? Where you've got 10 other guys going one direction, but it's the options. Okay, they don't feel. And Wilkin came in. I thought he played fairly well, but the staff still hesitant there. I mean, that right tackle has been a spot that has been a weakness. And I think probably looking back in the portal was probably a mistake. I'm sure they tried, but they probably needed to go get a right tackle in the portal, and they were not able to do that.
Well, one thing I'd like to see them do is not have the coordinators double down, but to make adjustments, like you said, go with different things. One thing they could do is run the ball because they've got a very talented running back core. They really do. And Jam was really doing a great job when he got banged up. They took him out and they stopped running. They completely and we were sitting there, and that was the 10 or 15 minutes we were in Knoxville where it was nice and quiet because those fans shut up because Jam was putting them to sleep. He was picking up 5 yards at a clip and picking up first downs. And I think we should go back to that. And one team that did that this week, I came home and I watched the replay. Colorado did that. Colorado started running the ball, and they didn't do it great. They did a pretty good job against Arizona, and that made that offense look so much better.
Good point.
And the game was about an hour and a half shorter.
Hey, William, I'm sorry I'm out of time right here, man, but please call back. I've enjoyed the chat with you.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. William up in Penn.
I got faith. I might bend, but I won't break. I'll fight the elements.
Hey, and speaking of Alabama Crimson Tide basketball, every day at 4 o'clock, we remind you the countdown powered by Alabama Credit Union, alabamacu.com. Checking, savings, mortgage, home equity loan, financing a vehicle. We are now 14 days away from Alabama Crimson Tide basketball as we get things started on that Monday evening against UNC Asheville. Here we're talking about it. We had a big exhibition game. Alabama blew out Wake Forest. Big win on Friday night. Up in Boutwell Auditorium. But right now we're going to spend a little time talking. Maybe basketball might come up. But right now, Martin Houston, it is basketball season, is it not, Martin?
Hey, man, you stole my thunder, Ryan. I had prepared a whole intro about basketball.
Well, we can talk basketball. What would you like to say? I mean, what would you like to say? It's NATO. Well, I mean, the sample size is very simple, okay? Rarely does Alabama basketball on the top and football on the top at the same time.
Right.
So maybe this means that Alabama's headed back to the Final Four.
Maybe. I'm hoping so. But, yeah. What's up, man?
It's a struggle, man. It's a struggle. It's I don't.
Hey, what was your prediction for this season?
Well, I mean, after the Georgia game or before?
Before the season started. What would you have said would have been a success?
But okay, here's my problem though. Here's the problem. I come out with these preseason, okay, I think we can go 11-1 and then 10-2, but then I never pick a loss for the week. So I never get to like going, okay, Alabama's going to lose this one right here. Okay, this is the one they're going to lose. So in fairness, I think if you said 10-2, yeah, I would be satisfied. But Martin, this team's going to have to flip the script if they're going to go 10-2.
I agree. It's just I think that what Alabama fans are notorious for, and I'm one of those fans, is we'll put a nail in the coffin after a game or two.
We will, yeah.
Yeah, everybody forget that we didn't feel it much better last year, 3 games in, than we do now. I mean, nobody was calling my show going, hey, looks like Saban still has it. Looks like Saban's going to lead this team to title. What I was hearing a lot of was that it just passed him up. Maybe time for a change. First time in my career I had ever heard, I got in the middle of Saban's dynasty. You've had the time where you've heard the negativity and the hard time. I never experienced that. So last year, I think people forgot, man, it was some interesting calls.
Great point, because it's almost like you're asking DeBoer to come in. It's already a hard job. I mean, if Alabama won the national title, it'd be the hardest job in the country. It is the hardest job in the country. But then the flip side of that, you're coming in with a program that had kind of let it slip away with Coach Saban as the head coach.
Right. We won 1 championship in 6 years. But we still talk like we were the dominant program for the last 6 years.
We do. Amen. Yeah.
But here's the question that, man, like Ryan, I'm searching. I mean, because I looked at this coach, man. This dude can coach. I mean, DeBoer can coach. I mean, people say, well, he coached at these small schools. Yeah, and he was clearly heads and shoulders above everybody when he was at South Dakota. He was clearly more dominant when he was at Fresno. He was clearly more dominant. Yeah, he hasn't coached at the SEC, but he was better than the other guys where he was at. So after you look at that, you have to start asking yourself some questions. Okay, what could be causing this? Is he in over his head? That's a possibility, but I don't think so. Have we underestimated and not realized the loss of Grubb, just how important Grubb was to him in his flow? Have we missed that? That's one possibility. Have we underestimated how much we really lost in terms of last year's team and Saban and where we were at? Because every time I say something on Facebook or whatever, everybody says, well, he inherited the most talented roster. He did on paper, but how many of those guys have played, Ryan? They're so young. And then the last question, this is where I want to really get your thoughts. When Saban came, he had a culture shock, right?
He did.
But when he tried to put it in his program. And Ryan, think about this. What was their record before he came? The year before, 6-7?
They were, yeah. And
in
2006, they'd won 10 games in 2005, but yeah, in 7 and 6.
Okay,
6 and 7.
So 2006, 2007, a national championship winning coach comes in and tries to convince you to adopt his philosophy and ways of doing things. And he had a revolt on his hands until when?
Until he won and proved that his system was going to work.
Until La Monroe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Right. And then slowly from that point on, guys started realizing, oh, man, maybe we need to buy in. But he couldn't get guys to buy in, and they were losing. We've not talked about this, Ryan. It looked like everybody was bought into DeBoer's thing, right? Is it possible that DeBoer had the buy-in, but they had the buy-in because they were winning. And the moment they had conflict or something went wrong, the layer was peeled back, and you had a bunch of guys, because from the Vanderbilt, I think Vanderbilt caught them and shocked them. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that Vanderbilt outplayed them, out-schemed them, everything. But I think since that time, there's been a revolt maybe potentially going on. Some quiet, some intentional, whatever. But think about this. How hard would it be to get a group of guys who have won to buy in after you lose, right? You see what I'm saying? Like the Vanderbilt loss, did it wake up some things? Because I asked a lot of people, they were dogging how undisciplined this team is. I said, well, give me the name, number, and jersey of the guys who have made bonehead, undisciplined play and the guys who aren't playing with great effort. And I'll show you a bunch of Saban recruits. Tell me what the freshmen that DeBoer brought in and the transfers that DeBoer brought in, show me where their play has been effortless, undisciplined, and disrupted. Brailsford, Stab, Ryan Williams, Xavier Brown. You see what I'm saying? That makes sense.
I do. Yeah, sure. No, it makes great sense.
It's some of this manifestation of the undiscipline coming from the Saban guys. I'm asking. I don't know.
No, you know what? It's a great point. I told Barrett Sallee a couple of minutes ago. It's the stepdad.
Yeah,
I've got to be able to discipline these kids, but I can't do too much because the lady will be mad, and mom's mad. Happy wife, happy life. He's trying to discipline. But Martin.
And Ryan, was it okay? Was his discipline and his culture and approach okay as long as they were getting what they wanted and we were winning? And that's why I ask you, is there a revolt potentially? Because remember, Saban couldn't get guys to buy into his way of doing things, and they were losing. How much more is it to have a bunch of kids who are entitled, think they deserve more, to buy in, and then all of a sudden you think they're bought in until something happens? Because the last 3 weeks have been like hard on the eyes.
Oh, all right. So, Martin, I just published just a quick Facebook thing, and Alabama currently ranks 130th out of 134 teams in penalties per game. They average 8.9 penalties per game, 78.3 yards per game. One of the worst teams in the country, not just in the SEC, but 130. How do you clean that up?
Oh.
Is this a byproduct of a young team? Because you mentioned a couple of seconds ago, young. Is this a byproduct of that?
I think it's a continuation. Everybody, where did we rank last year with the old team? I think this program has been undisciplined for a while.
It has been. It was down in the one teens. Yeah, it was not. It was
right, right. So there hasn't been this, and so I think it's youth that is part of it, Ryan. I think it's been a ongoing culture thing, and you know what, Ryan? This is what. Listen, this Alabama coaching staff has to get better. They have to do better. This team has to get better. But I don't think
I'm wrong. It was 2022 that they were awful. 2023, they'd actually cut that in about half. They were in the 50s.
Okay.
But so, in 2022, it was they were actually 123 in the country in 2022.
But why wasn't the complaints as bad? Because the other teams weren't as bad, right?
And you're winning. And you're winning.
Well, and their other teams weren't as good, right? What does winning do, Ryan?
It covers up a lot of issues.
It makes people talk about what went right. What does losing do?
Yeah, it makes you put everything under a microscope. It does.
Everything that was already going wrong plus some more stuff. Then you start searching. And that's where, unfortunately, Alabama, we as a program, that's where we are. So, but the question is, Ryan, can they right the ship? And that's the question I'm asking my audience this week. Can they right the ship? And, you know.
I mean, I still believe in this coaching staff. I'm not this naysayer out here that's, hey, you know, this is a problem. This is an issue. Yeah, it's a problem, but it's not unfixable. And maybe this is the part, 2 losses, right. The pressure, they respond, they go beat Missouri, they go on the road, they beat, you know, LSU, who knows where Oklahoma will be. You come back, and I mean, there's
10-2 is very doable.
No, it is. It is. I mean, that's why you're seeing some of the metrics out here. I mean, it's still alive. I mean, Alabama, but based on the way they play, it's hard for your eyes to tell you that it's still an option.
Ryan, let me ask you this. Now, who's the last guy that will say you need to change quarterbacks?
That might be you.
Right? It's me. But immediately after that game, I said, either Jalen Milroe is hurt, because the guy, when he takes off now, he doesn't take off. He's not explosive. And if you're going to throw the ball 45 times, when has Jalen Milroe thrown the ball, Ryan? 30 times. Let that sink in. He went from a 3-game span where he had 271 rushing yards. In the last 3 games, he's had 57 rushing yards. Let that sink in. So Alabama led the majority of that game. We threw the ball 27 times in the first half. Explain that. We were winning. So either he can't run, and if he can't run, it's probably because he's injured, and whatever his injury is caused him to float the ball continually, and to me, take the lazy man route out. But the reality of it, he targeted, what's his name, 19 times. The sad part was he was open probably 17 of them, you know, but he couldn't get the ball to him. So I was sitting here going, okay, you have to do something. Either you go back to what you did in the first half of the Georgia game, because what's sad about this coaching staff is they did the opposite of last year. Last year, they refused to use Jalen in his skill set, and then they finally did, and he looked like all world. Then this team used him up until the Georgia game, and since then, they have not. If you're going to play this style offense, the better passer, I think, just on a pure talent passing, like just regular drop back, hand it off to the running back, that type, I think Ty is either even or better. I've said better all day. There must be something that makes them think he's not that. But how do you explain that, Ryan? So when I say coaching staff, I have confidence in DeBoer. I'm not sure the other guys are ready for the moment, because why did we do what we did Saturday? Explain to me how did Alabama throw the ball 45 times when they only trailed we had more time of possession. We were running the ball. We did everything everybody's been asking for. Yet, instead of continuing to do that, we threw it 45 times. We're at the 3 or the 4, and nobody's tackled Jalen inside the 5 yet, and we throw a pass. I mean, it's just the craziest thing. And I'm like, I know these coaches on social media, they better stop listening to it, though.
Well, Coach Stallings used to say you start listening to them, you'll be setting up with her. It won't be long, and you'll be set with them. I mean, that's a Coach Stallings verbiage there. All right, so Martin, going back to Jalen Milroe, you would put him on the bench?
Well, let me say this. I don't. If that performance, if he's not injured.
Well, and all we can do is go on what Kalen said today. And the way that I got the audio clip, Wyatt, you have the audio clip with Kalen talking about the injury, because he was asked today in the press conference about Milroe. Listen to it, Martin. I'll let you react to it. This is Kalen DeBoer talking about the injury possibility to Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, I think at this point in the year, I don't think there's many guys that play a lot of snaps who don't have something, and just working through it. But he's more than capable, and as he goes through the week, you're just ready to play on Saturday. So there's nothing that's going to be holding him back from going out there and being able to help us get a win. Confident of that.
Okay.
I don't know, because the cryptic message from Saturday was don't lose belief in these guys, because there are a lot of guys.
Well, Keon Sabb, I think with that guy, he played with a broken foot for 3 quarters.
Yeah. So, but I mean, why would you say that? That's one of those things that's easy to say. You don't have to say that cryptic. I don't know. I really don't. Right? If he was not injured, shame on this coaching staff. Okay. You asked me the question, would I bench Jalen Milroe? I'm not saying I would bench Jalen Milroe, but in that game today, Ty Simpson would have came in. If that quarterback that was playing Saturday was not injured, and I'm going to throw the balls that many times, and he's off, the guy was over 20-something% below his average rate, Ryan. And he threw some balls that it looked like he was throwing them away.
Yeah, it was. I mean, but even the completions
were
ugly.
Everything was floating. Everything was fluttering. Nothing was sharp. You're right. That's what I'm saying. If that wasn't an injured player, shame on this coaching staff, because they were unfair to all the other guys who have put in work. Now, remember who's telling you this, Ryan? The last guy that calls for a quarterback change. But if that guy was not injured Saturday, you look at what did Texas do? Now, Texas didn't end up winning the game, but did you see what he did? He's made it clear whose team it is. But he took him out and put the backup in, put Manning in, and then when they came out at halftime, he put the starter back in. And they played better. He played better. So if Jalen wasn't hurt, shame on that coaching staff. But the question you have to then ask yourself, Ryan, is what have they seen or what do they fear? What have they seen in Ty that would make them not put him in? That's one question, one perspective. Or what do they fear will happen to this team if they put Ty in?
Okay, we had a caller that called in earlier, and he did make a reference of a certain player. He just said he thought that this coaching staff, that some of the players has this coaching staff by the gonads. Would you believe that?
Well, I mean, I think you can make that statement on
any
how many
college football. 134 teams. You could probably
Yeah. I mean, I would say that that's true of 134 teams today, and so that part to me, but well, I take it back, Ryan. There may be one team that they don't, and it's the Clemson Tigers, because he's pretty much said leave if you want to. So, I mean, right?
Well, that and Bo Davis pleading with his defensive lineman, come on, put your name in the portal. Please put your name in the portal. Come on, I'll help you. I'll help you. I mean,
but Ryan, what? I mean, seriously, Ryan,
you make a great point.
What? If Jalen wasn't hurt, and that was a performance of a quarterback that's 100%. And that was the best he could do, and you assessed your team and said, the best chance for us to win this game is to continue with this guy. don't think you put him in on that last drive. But man, early in the second quarter, it was several times where I thought that they could have done it, and it could have gave the team a potential spark. And like I said, man, I just don't usually make that type of statement. But if we're gonna throw the ball, if we're gonna run the offense we ran since the second half of the Georgia game, you have to give Ty a chance, because that's not Jalen Milroe. This team will not make it to the playoffs if you ask Jalen Milroe to do what you've asked him to do the last two plus games. He is a average quarterback at best if you're not using his skill set effectively.
Hey, Martin, I'm at 29 after, man. I didn't realize I was so late. Tell me, I appreciate you, man. Wow, we'll do it again next Monday. Hopefully we're maybe I just have to come, Ryan, since I have more of a flex schedule. I may have to just come sit in the studio one day. Yeah, but it sounds like you got a cold, so I don't want you anywhere near the studio.
Not today, man. Not today.
Well, I know, but you invited me to lunch today. I mean, you don't sound very good, Martin.
Well, this is on the end of it, man.
Oh, okay.
Hey, listen, Ryan. It's Tennessee week.
Rocky Top, you.
All right. Hey, but thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I just ask your listeners if they're looking for an opportunity to empower leadership in their organization or need any type of personality assessment, coaching, leadership training, I'd love the opportunity to work with them. And right now, in the Tuscaloosa market, West Alabama market, I'm offering a free pep talk, which is lunch and learn. And I come in and teach a couple of John Maxwell's leadership principles. If they're interested in that, there's no, there's a couple things I ask them to do, but there's no cost, no charge, or anything like that. So if you're interested in getting a free pep talk from a national championship SEC winning fullback that knows how to deliver, and then I'd love the opportunity to talk with you. You can just email Martin at martinhouston.org, and then we can set up a time to talk about the specifics, and we'll get that set up for him.
Martin Houston, every morning starting at 6 a.m. here on Tide 100.9, the national champion winning fullback at the University of Alabama. Martin, appreciate you, man. Thank you again for being a part of our show.
Appreciate you, Ryan. Roll Tide.
Hey, Roll Tide, right back to you. Greg in Athens, get ready. Blueberry Steve, Montreal. Jared in Dallas, Texas. Josh in Georgia.
But my friend, I'd sacrifice all those nights if I could.
I appreciate Martin Houston giving us some great insight. We're taking your phone calls, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. The bad and the ugly is sponsored by this Alabama football team. Appreciate their sponsorship. I mean, they got plenty of NIL money. They're just, sharing the wealth. Sharing the wealth. Let's go to Jared in Dallas, Texas. Jared, good afternoon. You're in the game. Hey, Jared. Jared.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
You got me? You got me? All right. Hang on a second here. Kind of noisy where I am.
You're fine. You're fine.
And, you got me?
Yes, we can.
So don't you think this has kind of been brewing for a while?
What do you mean?
Well, what I mean is we've literally been one play away from having 2 or 3 losses the last couple of years. I mean, you think about 4th and 31, you think about some of the other things that have been going on. We've been right on the brink of this, and we've had what I would think were some discipline issues anyways over the past few years. And I think Martin was spot on when because he was kind of talking about that. He started pointing out the players that have been a problem and haven't been a problem, right? I mean, don't you agree with that a little bit?
I do.
Yeah. Well, first of all, really everyone needs to understand we have nothing to worry about now because Barrett came on and just guaranteed that we're going to lose 3 games. He said there's no way that's not going to happen. So that's we're home free. We're guaranteed that we will not lose another game after that guy, after his prediction, right?
Well, playoff metrics. I was just looking at a couple of minutes ago. Football Power Index. Make sure I got this right. Yeah, Football Power Index right now has Alabama making the playoffs, not winning the playoffs, just making the playoffs at a 40.
Which would be a wonderful success, don't you think? At the beginning of the year, wouldn't you have taken that?
After the Georgia, the Georgia thing did so many things for our optics, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it made us maybe overvalue this team.
Yes.
And it 100%. Probably did bad for that locker room, too.
Go back and watch the tape. I was talking to some guys. Go back, and everybody acts like that first half was a methodical, dominating performance. Beck gave us the ball inside the 50 a couple of times. Georgia was a complete and utter disaster for the first 20 minutes of that game. They couldn't do anything right. And Beck, I mean, the interception he threw to Damani was a terrible throw. He threw it right to him. And they spotted us all those points, and it did. It gave everyone way too much confidence. You know, I have sales guys that work for me, and I always tell them when you're in these stressful situations, you're evaluating different stuff, take all the emotion out and just trust your eyes and trust the facts. And if you look at what's been going on so far this year, pretty much our first 3 or 4 games, we all saw receivers getting past the DBs. That was a problem. It got us again Saturday. There's not been – I felt like there was a lot of overconfidence to begin with. And, you know, think about this. I actually thought the defense played pretty well Saturday. I mean, what was the average score that you had for prediction Friday or Thursday?
Yeah,
you do that? What was it, like 31-28?
Yeah, probably.
31-28?
Yeah, I mean, probably in the 30s.
Yeah, it was like 30-25. It was 28-24. It was, if you went back and averaged it out, I guarantee.
I've got it.
And
I got it. I mean, 31-17, 31-27, 34-24, 35-24, 38-31, 34-27, 37-10. 30. I mean, a lot of 30s. Yeah. I mean, I thought the defense played pretty solid. I really did.
Yeah. No, I agree. With that. And, you know, I called you off air after A-Day, and I made the comment that no one else on that team can make the throws that Simpson can make. Now, whether he gets in there or not, and talking about Milroe has basically been off limits until this week, he can spin it and he can make those throws. And I don't know how many times we have to watch what we watched. I mean, there's a million screenshots of what was going on Saturday. And, you know, Milroe's a great kid, great athlete.
Nobody's denying that.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I've covered quarterbacks here even prior to Nick Saban. I've never seen a quarterback handle the pressure of being the Alabama quarterback like Jalen Milroe. He says all the right things. The way that he comes into the media room. I mean, he repeats a lot of the stuff the coach, but that's what you want a quarterback to do. You want him to believe. So it's hard for you to criticize. It is. But you also have to be honest. That was not a good performance. And a lot of that, and people don't like when you put it on one guy, and we're not putting it on one guy. Your teammates can help you out. But a lot of that loss is on Jalen Milroe.
Well, the most frustrating thing for me is to hear DeBoer taking so much heat about this. I just challenge folks, watch the tape. Watch the tape. Trust your eyes. And not just Saturday, other games too. The DeBoer system had people wide open Saturday, Ryan. I sent you 2 picks. I sent you 2 pictures.
Oh.
Why?
Did I respond? Why? Did I respond? Because if I did, now I'm sorry. Okay.
You did.
Okay.
You did.
Okay.
But Ryan, wide open. The week before with South Carolina, when the throw went to double coverage and got picked in the end zone on the right side of the field, Ryan Williams, wide open. It happens over and over. So either run the ball more and work to that system or make some changes. But what I don't understand is at least one series. Just try one series. There's obviously something going on behind the scenes we don't know about. I think there would probably be some sort of revolt if that happens. I think it could be really bad, but man, it's tough to not at least give that one try, you know? So Anyways, the last thing I want to say is no more talk about LSU. Nobody say anything about LSU
amen.
3 weeks from now. Stop. Just stop.
Tommy Thunder's going to be happy. Yeah, because we don't even. Yeah, I agree with you. Great point,
Ryan. You know what Missouri did that we didn't do? They beat Vandy. Okay, we couldn't beat Vandy. They beat them, and they're coming to town, and I'll be there. I'm coming in, so I'll ping you. Maybe try to run by. But no more LSU talk. We got Missouri Saturday, and they got some speed, and they can score points. And just stop the LSU talk.
All right. Jared,
okay, man.
I appreciate you. The good moments are always sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. Let's go to Blueberry Steve in Montreal, Canada. Blueberry Steve, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hi, Ryan.
How are you?
Gosh, what can I say? First of all, I have to start off, Ryan, by telling you a little bit of personal bad news.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I have to do some surgery for trigger finger. They offered me 2 dates, October 25th or mid-January. And I chose October 25th, which means I'm not going to be coming in to Tuscaloosa.
I got you. Understand.
But
so you said you had a trigger finger, where the finger?
Yeah, I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah, I do know where it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had a couple of them before, and this one it's really painful. I don't want to wait.
They have to cut the ligaments to release it. Is that what they have to do?
I'm not 100% sure. It's like a plastic surgery thing. It's a day surgery, but up here in Canada, we don't have. I don't want to go into the whole story about the medical system.
No, you're fine. You're fine. All right. Well,
long story short, I can rebook my tickets, my plane tickets, the tickets that I bought. I just got rid of them. I sold them, and I'm going to try and make it for the game against the Bugs on the 26th of November.
Are you really?
Okay. Yeah, I am. Yeah. I want to make at least one game this year, for goodness sakes. And I don't know. Do I have a few minutes to expound on my...
you have a few. If maybe we could do it in maybe like 3.5, 4 minutes.
Okay, I think that Jalen Hurts was playing hurt because he seemed reticent to run when he had the opportunity. And if that's the case, then as far as I'm concerned, it's on Coach DeBoer for not bringing in Ty Simpson at the half. That's what Martin was saying, and kind of that's what my thoughts were. There's no doubt that his passing game was horrible, Ryan. It was just horrible. I think our team would need to figure out how to deal with away games with the noise. And I want to ask you a question: Is in the SEC, do coaches get to send in tapes to the refs after the game to point out certain things?
Absolutely.
So it seems to me, Ryan, that the ball defenders were deliberately trying to injure Ryan Williams. Like the tackles, they were throwing him violently to the ground, and I don't know, am I just imagining that, or did you notice that at all?
No, I think the style is to get physical.
Well, and I understand it's a physical game, but for goodness sakes.
No. I mean, I think Tennessee was probably, but I don't think that's the reason. I mean, Blueberry Steve, I'd love to be able to sit here and blame all of this, on Tennessee or the officials. But at the end of the day, we have to look at ourselves in a mirror and go, we screwed this up.
No, I'm not. No, that's a separate. I just want to know if they do that. That's all. I believe that it's on Jalen for his terrible passing, and for not running. But I think that he wasn't running because he was dinged. And if he was dinged, it's on. As far as I'm concerned, it's on the coach for letting him come back after the half. That's you gotta put Ty in at a certain point. And I'm a big Jalen fan.
Hey,
Don't get me wrong.
Listen, I've never said which quarterback needs to come in. I don't care if they put Kendrick Law back there and run the Wildcat or Wild Tide for a couple of plays, just to let it slow down. because the part of the game that started, you could see some, and I hate using this word, but I don't know anything else. I mean, he had some anxiety. He was not settled down. He was not himself. No, he was not. No, he was not. And I can't explain that. Other than just my eyes told me that he was very nervous.
So do you remember the South Carolina game? He was hit. He was hit. He took a bad hit in one tackle. It kind of looked like he got like he was limping after. I don't know if that continued, but whatever the reason, his game, he wasn't playing his game last against the Vols. And I think it's because he was injured. I think it's, and if that's the case, the coach has to take him out because that's the coach's job. That's what I think. That's my 2 cents.
Right. Do you have any?
Another question, if I have a quick minute. If Kirby was able to make adjustments at the half against us, why can't we make adjustments?
I think we've made some adjustments. Probably not as many as I would have liked, but I mean, without being in that locker room, it's hard for me to guess what they're not and not doing. But it does seem like maybe our adjustments are a little bit of a step behind. It doesn't feel like, and I'm looking at body language. I love to read the nonverbals. What do they say? Like 70% of communication is nonverbals. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of nonverbals right now. Mm-hmm. A ton.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's the coaching staff, whether it's the quarterbacks, whether it's the players, they're giving you some images that are not positive. I mean, take Milroe. I mean, because they always focus on the quarterback, right? They focus on him. I mean, they never leave the camera. It's almost like a video camera just on him. I mean, the nonverbals, and he knows that.
I don't know. It's Ryan. I still think we're gonna make the playoffs. We have to win out, and that's it. We just have to win out one game at a time, like Tommy says, one game at a time. But if mark my word, if Jalen isn't ready to play his game, they've got to put in another quarterback. They can't keep the kid in there if he's not, well, maybe not 100%, but at least 90%. Am I wrong?
What do you mean, 90% health-wise?
Yeah, health-wise, yeah.
I mean, as DeBoer said,
everybody was
everybody. But I mean, I also understand that you don't want to let you don't want to let the opposing team know that your quarterback, if he's injured, you don't want to let your team know that he's injured, right? I mean, you don't want to let that. I mean, hey, he's got an ankle problem. Well, I promise you, there's a lot of things that happen in a huddle that's probably not good. So, hey, Blueberry Steve, I got to run, man. I've got to get this top, man. Thank you.
All right, roll Tide and roll MAGA.
Thank you, Blueberry Steve. We appreciate the phone call. We'll continue with more. Crimson Tide football. We'd love to get you in. Tony in Oklahoma, Josh in Georgia. Is it Capron? Capron is going to be joining us as well. Let me look. Josh in Georgia is 54 minutes. Capron is 26, so he'll be second up. Tony in Oklahoma, we're coming to you. Stephen in Raleigh, North Carolina, we're coming to you. We're always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. Let's reset the 5 o'clock hour. We don't normally like to pin somebody up because I want to give you time to stretch your legs. I mean, you've been waiting for a couple of minutes. So Josh in Georgia, you're on deck. We'll take you at the top of the hour, and then we'll go to Caprion. We'll take him. And then we'll take Tony in Oklahoma. Gotcha. Steven in Raleigh, North Carolina. We're also taking your tweets at Ryan C. Fowler. Also sending those app messages. Tide 130 SEC titles. 147 first-team All-American, 77 postseason appearances, 45 postseason victories, 4 Heisman winners, the NCAA all-time scoring leader, the greatest football coaches to ever walk the sidelines. We are talking a little Alabama Crimson Tide football, and we are talking about Tuscaloosa Toyota. Buy 3 tires, get that 4th tire for only $1. How about a Highlander? How about a Camry, Corolla, RAV4, Tundra, Tacoma, pre-owned inventory? Take a look at it, Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. Let's continue with more phone calls, and we go to Josh in Georgia. Josh, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Everything could be better, and I said that to Wyatt whenever he answered the phone. But I will say this, and I will consider this as my good, and I'll get right into it.
Okay.
The defense showed up way better than I thought they would, and they forced turnovers. But the bad would be probably, to me, the officiating, even though I'm not blaming the officials for the loss, but it was still terrible officiating. And the ugly is we couldn't do nothing with those turnovers. That's leaving points on the field. When your defense forces turnovers the way that we ended up forcing turnovers, because, dude, and then when we hit Nico, I was like, their backup's fixing to have to come in and play the rest of this game. And as soon as he come in and threw that interception, I was like, man, we fixing to run this game and run them into the ground. Well, that didn't happen. But I do say the defense, I tip my hat to that defensive performance after the last couple of weeks. I'm proud of my defense. I ain't got nothing to be ashamed of with the defense. The offense is just a little sluggish. And you've said it ad nauseum today, but I'll say it again. It's been that way since the second half of the Georgia game. And what's wrong? I got no idea. But I do totally agree with Martin when he says, hey, you want to teach Jalen Milroe something? Bench him. I mean, I like Jalen Milroe. I like Jalen Milroe.
We all do.
As a person. I
don't think there's a person out there because, I mean, he's a great ambassador of the University of Alabama. And
for sure. If you dislike him, don't let me know it, okay?
Well, there's one caller, and
I know who he is.
He doesn't call.
You banned him. You cut him off.
I asked him not to call back because I thought there were some racial tones to his messages.
There 100% was.
I don't want that on the show.
No, nobody does. We talk about football.
He would only call when Milroe performed bad, and he's had some bad performances, but he's also had some great performances. Where would this team be without Jalen?
Sure.
I don't have the answer to that.
For sure. No, me neither.
And nobody's saying the bench is the permanent option. It's
no.
Maybe it gives him a chance to let it reset a little bit.
Look at what happened. Last year's a perfect example. He did not play a clean Texas game. They put him on the bench for South Florida. Look at what happened last year. We come out after that South Florida game. Sure, we had some close games. Sure, we had some, we wasn't perfect in all of those games. But this team ended up going to Atlanta and stopping the Georgia Bullpuppies from winning 3 in a row because of the decision by Coach Saban to bench his quarterback. And I think Ty Simpson's had time to sit. I think he's perfectly capable. I mean, I'm not saying that we are going to play him on Saturday, but you cannot sit there and tell me that we're not going to play him on Saturday. Kalen DeBoer could make that decision. That's his decision. He's the head football coach. And that brings me into something else I wanted to say. Trusting people. I know you probably saw the quote Reggie Ragland said, to just basically chill out, let this guy do his thing. And I told Wyatt, whenever he answered the phone, I said, I'm probably fixing to become the most hated man on radio as an Alabama fan. But the GOAT went 6-6 his first year, 7-6 because of a bowl game. If we end up going, I know Barrett Sallee, he's probably got his head up his rear end saying we got another loss coming. He can go kiss a tree off of a bicycle. I'm putting that nicely. But if we do have another loss coming, fine. If we don't have another loss coming, great. Here's why. If we do have another loss coming, that's going to put us at 9-3, probably missing the playoffs, but give us a bowl game. Let us make that 10-3, first-year head coach, new system. I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm not trying to minimize anything. I know what the expectation is in Tuscaloosa, dude. I have been there for 17 years. That was my childhood, was Coach Saban, national titles. So I'm trying to sit here and be the voice of reason for everybody else. And I know you're a reasonable guy, so I don't have to explain it to you, but I hope the people listening, either inside of our tailgate group, inside of group text that I'm in, that listen to this show, that call to this show, I hope people's listening and say, if we go 10-2 and we get in the playoffs, hey, that is great, and it's our own destiny. We control it. But if we ended up going 9-3, we get a bowl game, and we go 10-3 with the bowl game, or if we ended up going 9-4, Lord knows I don't want that to happen, but still, a 9-win season with a new head coach is good. And then we just turn the page and we get ready for next year. I'm hopefully optimistic about homecoming. This is a big deal. We'll have a parade. We'll have everything that goes with homecoming, and Missouri is the homecoming football game. I'm confident these guys will get up for that homecoming game, the ones that are not injury bugged. And that's something else that slows down this football team. But I am hopefully optimistic, and I probably am the only one besides yourself that's hopefully optimistic. But Bama Nation needs to settle down, let this guy run his program the way he runs it, and stop comparing. I'm doing my doggonest, and yes, it's hard, but I'm doing my doggonest as one of the younger callers to this show at 26 years old, seeing this coaching change the way that I have. I'm doing my doggonest to stop comparing this guy to Coach Saban, because he is not Coach Saban. He is his own man. He accepted this job. He said in his opening comments at the presser whenever they hired him, this was the only job he would have left Washington for. So with that being said, me personally, I'm very thankful to have this guy as our head coach, that he took the job, but there's going to be growing pains.
And by the way, I gotta
settle down.
Yeah. By the way, I gotta go on in Seattle tonight. They want to
with Softy.
Yeah, Softy said I got to take a victory lap over. Not that he's taking a victory lap, but I mean I know what they're getting me on for. They're kind of poking fun. I get it.
Do you want me to come in as backup?
I mean, I need you in backup.
Do you want me to come in as backup and just repeat everything that I just said in Seattle? Because
that's an option.
Seattle's still mad. Seattle's just mad.
Sure,
and Seattle can get over it.
Sure, because
Seattle can get over it.
It would be like the I never been through a divorce, but
right.
It's like that's why Facebook exists, right? It's people bragging about their life that really, it's trying to beat the other spouse. Okay, we got a divorce. Up. See, it was your problem. So that's where we're at.
I'm more than perfectly all right with coming in as backup because, like I said, Coach Saban, 7-6 his first year, and that's with the bowl game. So if this guy goes 9 wins, and whether that's 3 losses or 4 losses, depending on how this thing does play out, dude, it's a win.
Gotcha. All right, man.
I'm serious.
Josh,
I'm trying to be positive, but there we go. Roll Tide. Let's get on with homecoming.
Roll Tide. Thank you, Josh. We appreciate that. Caperone, got it. Good afternoon. You're in the game. Hello. Going once. Going twice. Hello. All right. Put you back on hold. Let's go to Tony in Oklahoma. Tony, good afternoon.
How you doing, Ron?
Yeah, good. Thank you for calling in.
I wanted to tell you, I really enjoyed the analyst you had there, the football nerd guy.
He's great.
He's really good.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
he's amazing. And,
he's realistic too.
Well, and you get a chance, watch his stuff on College Football Nerds. I mean, we're able to dive into 20 minutes, but go to YouTube. Him and his colleague Daniel, they do probably 40 minutes worth of content.
It's really, really good. I really enjoyed that part. And yeah, I've got one question. I heard Martin allude to it earlier in your show. If Ty Simpson's not capable of coming in as a backup quarterback, then why do we keep him?
Well, it's a great rebuttal. Obviously, he feels like he can grow in the Kalen DeBoer system.
Yeah. Well, my personal feeling is Jalen pulls the ball down too fast and runs with it. I mean, I've said that the whole time. I look back at another Jalen we had, did the same thing. And we go back, and I'm not comparing Saban here, but Saban pulled a guy that was 25-2 out of a national championship game and put in a backup quarterback. And sometimes you just have to pull the trigger and see what happens.
But do you think DeBoer would do that? I mean, do you think? I mean, because and I get it where Kalen DeBoer is loyal to Jalen Milroe and Malachi Moore and all these leaders because they're the guys who kept this locker room. Listen, Alabama has a chance to be in the playoffs. Okay, now is that a far stretch? Yeah, it could be at this point, but they're still in it. I mean, they're 5-2. A couple of more games, and he'll surpass what Coach Saban did in his first year at Alabama. Really, you go back to Coach Bryant. I mean, you could study the first-year head coaches. Takes them a little bit of time to adapt and evolve to this job. But if you also think about it, he's almost having to be loyal because these are the guys who kept the locker room together. to keep from Alabama having a losing season in number one?
Well, I'm gonna say the inmates are running the asylum in college football anymore. Anyway, I am not. I don't think it's a very good system. It's just a Wild West. It's all over the place, and these players can just take off, and they pretty much tell the coach the way it's going to be, or they'll leave. You know, and we were laughing about Dabo earlier, and I mean, you know, that's kind of about the only attitude you can have right now in this day and time. And it not just drive you crazy.
Well, it's almost and when you say that the players have the coaches by the gonads, that's not being disrespectful. It's just seeing what you see. 134 teams across the country, players have the coaches by the gonads. I mean, they do, because depth is such a major part. You can't go out here and be. That's why, listen. And people want to use Coach Saban. I love Coach Saban. What he did to my alma mater is simply amazing. I'll be forever grateful of him flipping the script and double birding the NCAA and said, listen, you tried to take us down. We look here what we did. We went on the greatest run in the history of college football. Okay, so he looked at the NCAA in our behalf and he said, no, you're not going to take Alabama down. We're going to rebound. But his style, he told you he couldn't coach in this style. His style would not work. And I know Kirby Smart, we're on the high horse, and we have people that call in that sponsor, that support Digger out in Texas, Louisiana. He calls in often, okay? But and Digger, we're waiting on you. We're waiting on you. If you get a chance to call in, but also when you think about it, it's I don't know if Kirby Smart's system. So long term, I think Kalen DeBoer's system will work. You can call it soft, or you can be kind or nice. You have to be in this college football system we live in. Because if you're the a-hole, they're gone. I agree. I don't like it, but it is what it is. Players have the rights now. They do.
Yeah. You get no disagreement from me. I mean, because it's just like in the real world where you and I live daily, we don't have the upper hand. It's the people we work for that have the upper hand.
That's right.
And it is a mess, but it's been fostered to be the mess that it is, and it's something we live with, and that's just the way life is at this point with college football. But I will say, I will bring it back to one thing. If Ty Simpson is not capable of being the backup quarterback, then they probably need to find somebody in the portal.
Well, and take Ty for an example. Okay? We've seen him at A-Day. That's really all we've seen him, right? We've seen him at some open practices. We've seen him against air. He looks pretty good throwing the football. He's got a little bit of a move. He's not Jalen Milroe, okay? He's not. His speed's not there, but he's not a guy that, is going to be just a statue back there in the pocket either. But don't you have to credit the way he's handled this backup responsibility?
Because he could have bailed any time, my friend.
And backup quarterbacks are a hot commodity, especially in the system that we run. You want your backup quarterback. Everybody looks at it as a negative. No, you want your backup quarterback to push your starter.
I look at Mac Jones.
But the way that he's managed it, he's stayed focused, understanding that, hey, it's not my job, but I'm going to work to be better. And if they need me, I'm here.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with anything you said.
So, but Tony, I go back and I can't say this enough. I believe in this coaching staff. I know what a bad coaching staff looks like. Okay, I've been around here. I didn't just get here yesterday or 2 days ago or 2 years ago. I know what a bad coaching staff looks like. Some of the things that we heard about the previous coaching staff, I'm not hearing about here. Now, they've got a rebuttal here. They got a problem. They got a little bit of a dilemma that they're going to have to work through. And this is probably going to help us define how great of a coach is Kalen DeBoer, how he navigates this. Because things look, at this point, kind of slim. What if he flips the script? What if he gets into the college football playoffs? What if he goes to Baton Rouge and wins that game? What if he goes to Norman, Oklahoma and wins that game? Who knows? I mean, you look at Georgia. I mean, as much as we're wanting to crown Georgia, they've still got a pretty difficult road ahead.
Georgia's not. They're not crowned by any means.
No. There's problems with. I mean, listen. And if you don't believe me, Stetson Bennett comes out of the shower. He slips on a, I don't know, whatever, a towel.
Yep.
Sure. Where are they going in?
I will say this much. I don't think the coaching staff, other than maybe a few decisions, I don't think the coaching staff's the problem. You can't fire the players. That's where the problem is. You got to, you fire the coach. You can't fire the players. The players is where the problems are.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I don't think DeBoer is a bad coach. I think he needs to make some decisions, but he'll make the decisions he needs to make for what he's the guy that's getting paid the big bucks, not me. Okay. But I don't think the coaching staff's a problem at all. I think it's players. And Martin made some points. I'm not.
But okay, think about what you and I have spoke about in the last 3 or 4 minutes with players having coaching staff by the gonads.
Mm-hmm.
If they dangle the carrot out there and you say, listen, if you do this, we're going to put you in the NFL. And one way, they've already got the carrot. You don't have that motivation.
Thank you, my friend. I have thought about that all day. That, you know what? If a guy gets $1 million or gets $1 million a year and he plays 3 years, he's got $3 million, he invests it right, he don't have to worry about the rest of his life. There's not the motivation there that there was at one time.
And that's the issue. Tony, it's a great conversation, man. I appreciate you for chiming in. Oklahoma. Hey, I don't know what parts of Oklahoma you're from, but I got buddies live out there, and my wife does some part-time work with the University of Oklahoma. So we go out there quite often.
I work at Norman every Sunday.
Oh, do you really? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're the pastor. You're the pastor that called in a couple of years ago, right? No.
No.
Okay. My bad.
But I will tell you this much though. From what I've seen out of Oklahoma, they should win. Alabama should win.
They should.
Okay? They should win.
And
should. Okay.
So it really comes down to the trip to Baton Rouge, and I'd love to stick it in their face and as much as talking that they've done, Kalen DeBoer, if you do one thing, let's go beat Missouri and get 2 weeks to prepare for those LSU Bengal Tigers.
Absolutely.
Because I might look at my buddy, and he's my buddy. I might look at Matt Moscona and just say, nah, boo-boo. I mean, I'd love to. But right now, all I got is crow. And I got a lot of it, and I'm full of it, and I'm tired of eating crow. I'm ready to have a steak sandwich, Tony.
Well, I'll tell you something. You will have again. Like I said, I think the coaching staff's okay. Anybody that says they're not, I think they're wrong. They ain't been there long enough to be bad. But the players, there's where the problems are. And what you do to motivate them, you're smarter than I am. If you can figure it out, I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah, great point. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Great call, man.
God bless you, brother.
Yeah, thank you. Tony in Oklahoma, the pharmacy at Midtown. TJ Thomas, he's the pharmacy at Midtown. The only sterile compounding facility in Tuscaloosa is the pharmacy at Midtown. The pharmacy at Midtown. TJ Thomas, locally owned and operated, the longest independent-owned pharmacy in Tuscaloosa, the pharmacy at Midtown. All the sterile compounding facilities that you need, the compounding needs, hard to get medication, the pharmacy. But I agree with him. Yes, he did. Let's continue with more phone calls. We go to Stephen in Raleigh, North Carolina. Stephen, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well, man.
Roll Tide, Ryan. How are you?
Roll Tide. And this little girl... This little girl said this on Instagram, or maybe it's Twitter. I can't remember where I saw it at. I was Roll Tide yesterday. I'm Roll Tide today. and I plan to be Roll Tide tomorrow. So,
you know, Ryan, I've been kind of all over the map since Saturday. About
we all have. We all have.
About, you know, I started out at, well, Kalen's Saturday. Kalen's too nice to coach in this league. I like Kalen as a coach, as a person, but maybe he's just a little too nice. So now, you know, I went back and watched it again, and I really saw something on the sideline that we hadn't seen, but maybe a little bit of. And he had a little bit of a fire about him in parts of that game that I liked. So, you know, when he took over for Coach Saban, he had to come in here.
He had no other choice. He had no other choice. I know where you're going. Keep going. Keep going. Go.
I had to keep this roster together. You know, Ryan, maybe he's had to be a way that he didn't want to be, but he had to be because of, like the last two callers have talked about it, the way these players are. If you don't come in and cater to them, then they're all just going to leave. And when he first got here, he still had a month, Ryan, that players could just get up and leave. So I'm thinking maybe, you know, the guy's won everywhere he's been. He just didn't forget how to win. And I'm thinking that some of the leftover problems from the last few years are still there. And I'm talking about among the players. Just, you know, there's a lot of people players I like on that team, but just almost an entitlement, Ryan, because they're getting that money and you have to treat them a certain way or they'll walk out on you. So I'm a little better about my thoughts about Coach DeBoer than I was Saturday. I'll put it that way. You know, we've all seen the pictures of Jalen wide. I mean, Ryan, there's receivers running wide open, and he's missing them. I don't know why he's missing them. I don't know what he's focusing on. But when he threw that ball 20 yards over Justice Haynes' head on the sideline, there was a guy in the end zone, running toward the end zone with nobody behind him and nobody around him for a touchdown. So, if you start a tie, do you lose some of the team?
Yeah, you probably do.
But do you care? Is that who we've already got two losses? Is that who you? I don't want them in Alabama anyhow. If that's going to be the case, so let them sit out. If they want to sit out the rest of the year, let them go. I'm willing to. I mean, as a fan, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit at this point. Now that we have two losses, to get the right people in there, you know. So I don't know. I mean, Jalen's a great kid, and everybody loves him. We have all preached that. But he's not even running. And maybe it's the injury. He's not even running with authority right now when he does run. And he's missing wide open people. And I don't know what the answer is. That's why Kalen gets paid $10 million a year. He's got to figure that out. And I guess the only thing to say is I trust him more today than I did Saturday. This Saturday, I was more like, he looks like Mike DeBose, because I've seen that look before. But now I'm a little more level-headed about it, and it's going to be okay.
I don't know. Mike DeBose was a prick.
He was. Personally, I don't know if he was a prick or not. I know what he looked like on the sideline.
Yeah. Well, listen, I go back and I think about Mike Shula, and he accepted this job when very people would, but this guy didn't give a darn about his alma mater.
Right.
I mean, he didn't. He never came back here prior to leaving in the 80s as a quarterback. You telling me there wasn't one Saturday that he could make it back?
Right.
You're telling me there wasn't a Thursday in the off season that he could have swung by and said, "Hey, man, it's good to see you guys."
And even Ray Perkins was able to mend that
Yes,
tear.
he was. Yes, he was. And Mike Shula is still bitter.
And
He's
Mike
still,
Shula's never even tried.
Yeah. So
He's. But I tell you what, before I got the phone, Ryan,
very, very bitter, and I get it, but not too many people have knocked down the door trying to get him as a head coach either.
Right? No, he hasn't had a sniff. I mean, he's an analyst right now for South Carolina. Is that not correct?
He is.
He's not a coach. He's an analyst. But before I get off the phone, Ryan, I watched on YouTube the streaming of the Alabama basketball team Friday night. And we had 3 starters out, Ryan. We had 3 starters out and put up 98 points on the number 3 team in the ACC. Wake Forest is no slouch. They were picked number 3 in the preseason to finish in the ACC. And we've got some shooters, Ryan. I'll tell you that right now. We have some shooters. And Big Clifford the big bread dog, he's going to be a stud too. And I'm really excited about that team right now, Ryan. After watching them Friday, it's on YouTube right now. Anybody wants to go in and type Alabama basketball and they can watch that game. Really exciting.
Hey, super. And thank you, Stephen. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide.
Hey, it's Southern Ale House, 1530 McFarland Boulevard. Right now, the Dockside location is closed on Monday. They'll be open for dinner tomorrow, dinner on Wednesday, lunch and dinner on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for brunch. But right now, you can find a great meal at the original location, and you can also find some of that caramel apple apricot bread pudding. Oh, man, that looks incredible. I like it. Like the photos of it. It's Southern Ale House, whether it's the biscuit sandwiches, maybe it's the great steaks, maybe it's the daily lunch and dinner specials, the great burgers, the pepper jelly burger, now a featured item on the regular menu. You don't have to wait till Tuesday. You can get it on Monday. It is our good friends at Southern Ale House. Eat Southern, be Southern. Also catering, 205-248-7500, 205-248-7500. They'll cater your special event or maybe a get-together as well. And, hey, it's never too early to be thinking about upcoming Thanksgiving catering options. They do a great job with that. They've done a great job for my family, and I know they'll do a great job for you as well. Go over and see Justin, Cal, Brad, Brett, and the amazing staff at Southern Ale House, 1530 McFarland Boulevard. And tomorrow night,
Better than I ever did. Looking like a true survivor. Feeling like a little kid.
this is October. BMW of Tuscaloosa has it all ready to upgrade your drive. Enjoy special interest rates as low as 1.9%. Plus, don't miss out incredible rebates on new BMWs. Get $5,000 off our new 2024 X3, X7, or 2 Series inventory. October's is the month for BMW, and BMW of Tuscaloosa is the place to be. Visit now and say big. Discover why so many are switching to BMW. BMW of Tuscaloosa, take your dreams for a drive. Let's continue with more phone calls, and we go here to, oh no, do I have to?
Hello?
Yeah, I can't hear you, Pat.
Okay, I got you, man.
Yeah, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
I can't hear you, Pat.
Hey, Ryan. Bad up.
All right, go ahead. Hit me in the mouth. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, hit me.
No, we can win out, Ryan Fowler. Bad up.
I know, but you're ready to serve me some crow. Go ahead. I need to eat it. No, I deserve it. I deserve it.
You do not. You do not deserve it. I picked them only because I knew that was what was going to happen. That because we got some problems with indecision. We can win with Jalen Milroe. I'm not saying Jalen's got to be replaced. I'm saying Jalen has got to be told when you can run the ball, run the darn ball. I didn't say a bad word. I said darn ball. Okay. I mean, that was what cost that ball game, that indecisions. And hey, when down there on the 5-yard line, if Jalen runs the ball 4 times, and we don't make it, I got no issue with him. Him throwing an interception, I got big time issues with that.
Okay.
Do you not agree with me?
That interception in the end zone was bad.
Yeah.
Because you have to go back and understand the drive, right? Drive number 1, false start, followed by Milroe dropping the snap. Drive 2, false start, followed by 2 awful throws, okay?
Yeah.
At the 50-yard line. At the 50-yard line, all right? So then drive 3 started, interception on a poor throw. I mean, there was more. Even the throws were bad, if there's such a thing.
Yeah, I felt after Football Nerds got off, I felt sorry for the young man. I mean, all of it was true. Everything they said on Football Nerds was true. But darn, I still felt bad for him. I mean, you know, it is what it is.
I hear you.
But,
are you
did
soaking
anybody
your?
beat my store?
No, Pat, you're the winner. But let me announce it tomorrow if that's okay. Just kind of keep it up with the tradition.
Cool. I mean, because I need some roses from Pat Sloan.
I just want you to know that I hate you for picking Tennessee, though.
Well, I understand.
I mean, I didn't like it, Pat.
Yeah, you do. I mean, hey, I deserve all of that, but I just couldn't let my feelings interfere with my pocketbook. Now, I quit gambling when I was in college, and reason being, the only thing I can see about gambling, and y'all have people that gambling is part of your show. I mean, I'm talking about you get support from people. They are all about gambling, and they got no issue with that because the only thing I can find about it in my study of the Bible is when they cast lots for Jesus' clothes at the foot of the cross. That's the only thing that I can see where, I mean, other than you really need to be happy.
Regardless of the price, I know a lot of churches that do cakewalks. What are you doing at a cakewalk?
Oh yeah, same difference. Hey, and then
you put
the Catholic
$5 up to win a cake, right? Is that not a lottery?
Yeah, that's gambling.
I mean, you're risking. Well, it's for the kids. Well, I mean, there's an education.
It's for the kids, but you still got to explain all that to St. Peter when you get to them gates.
Yeah, all I say is don't get behind Philip Fulmer when you're going to St. Peter's office. He'll be there all day. You'll be in the waiting room a long time, man.
Yeah. All jokes aside, but seriously, back to this deal though about the indecisiveness. You know, I got chewed out this morning. Gary chewed my butt out about, I told him, I said, we've got to get Ty some quality time with the backups. Not with the backups, but with the first team. And he said, we don't have to do nothing. They said, that's your opinion. I said, well, it's like this. If we want to have any shot at all of getting any further, I said, if Jalen goes down, God forbid, I don't want nothing to happen to him. But, hey, I want my backup quarterback to be ready to go. And Ty Simpson is it. I really think Ty has developed a whole lot. Everything that I've heard from over to the university on what little inside part I got on it is that Ty is making strides from last year.
I'm just about out of time right here, Pat. I appreciate you, man. Thank you again for being a part of the show.
Have a blessed day, Ryan. Thank you.
Right back to you, Pat in Tuscaloosa. Let's move to Robert in Brookwood. Robert, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hello, Ryan.
How are you, man?
Oh, it was great. I went to visit my daughter over the weekend in Tennessee. She lives about 25 miles west of Nashville. And I was mad for about a minute after the game. Then I got God has a sense of humor. Woke up Sunday morning, the sun was bright orange.
Yes.
Beautiful country, though. But, Middle Tennessee has a lot of Alabama alums, so there's a lot of fans there. And, a few Vanderbilt fans I've met, they despise Tennessee. So I only had a problem out of one guy. I saw the tag on my truck. He said something. I said, yeah, y'all won 2 out of 3, but when y'all win 16 in a row, let me know. And he agreed. He said, yeah, you're right. There wasn't too much problems out of them. Game we should have won, but we didn't. We could all piddle and pout and moan and groan, and we heard a lot of that on group text the other night. But the thing is, I'm like you, Ryan. I trust DeBoer. The penalties and the undisciplined didn't start this year with DeBoer. We started that 2 years ago under Saban. Remember the game up in Tennessee, 17 penalties?
Sure.
It continued last year. The downfall of this team has been going on.
Hey, they're making improvement. I think they had 18 penalties last year at Tennessee, or the year prior.
The year before.
Yeah,
this was 15, yeah. The downfall of this team, look, it took I never thought about this. Me and Jumbo was talking last night. It took a 4th and 31 miracle play last year for us to even make the playoffs. Think about that.
That's a good point.
Game was in the one, but we've been having some discipline problems, and it all started with this NIL stuff. You've made a great point a while ago. I was amen, and you said, how can you be hard on these guys when they'll say, I'm gone? You got to be nice to them. You got to pamper them. You got to part a mustache to keep them happy with a bottle.
It's the stepdad syndrome.
You're not going to change the play. I don't have nothing to do.
You have to be nice. You got to cater to them. Oh, look, man, you're in charge of this locker room, not me. What do you want to do?
This is what the NCAA wanted with NIL, and I got no problem with that.
It's the liberalism of college football, Robert.
It's here now, brother. I mean, you can't take away the pay now, but what you can change is this transfer rule. You are limited to one time. I mean, I watch football every Saturday, and there'll be a school on, and he's done transferred 4 times. That's ridiculous. That's what you got to put a limit on. Transfer, and that kind of cut it down a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree. Hey, Robert, I got to run, man. I'm up against this break right here. Thank you.
Brother. Thank you for the favor Friday night. I appreciate it. We enjoyed it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. We gave away tickets, and we gave away a bunch of those.
0.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, it's MedCenter Urgent Care Family Medicine. No appointment necessary. The super doctors who live and work in our community. MedCenter, urgentcare.com. Let's continue with more phone calls. Tommy, Romulus. Tommy, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
All is well, Ron. How are you?
I'm good. What's on your mind? I got a couple of minutes right here.
I think we need to put a new rule in
for
Alabama fans.
Okay.
We have a 24-hour rule when we win and we forget about it. We need to shut our mouth for 24 to 36 hours after a loss. Because really, come on, people. Some of the things I have people who show me have been written on Facebook and all this other crap. Put a sock in it, people. In some game we're going to lose. Don't rip a coach's out. That's what the other 15 schools want us to do. They want us to tear down our program. And I don't care about the playoffs. I don't care about the Heisman Trophy winner. They out the window. Right now, it's homecoming week. Focus on Missouri. I don't give a damn about LSU in 2.5 weeks. Focus on the task at hand. And we'll be fine. I'm getting tired of hearing, we might not play well against Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a month away. I don't care about Oklahoma. Oklahoma got their own. I just can't.
I'm trying to split the time right here between the last three callers, Tommy.
I know. I'll talk to you more. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Let's go to Corey in Trussville. Corey, 1 minute. Let it rip. Go.
Hey, Ryan. How you doing this afternoon?
Not worth a flip.
Well, until we get our problems fixed, except for the Mercer game, every game is up for debate because this team is just not playing together or winning football. And I don't know, man. This is hard to watch right now, Ryan.
Yeah, it is.
But let's just take it one game at a time and see what happens.
So if we lose out, that would that put us at 5-6.
Well,
you're going to give us the Mercer win, right? So that's okay.
Yeah, I'll give us Mercer.
Okay, so there's 6 wins. Hey, that makes us bowl eligible.
No, it doesn't, because you can't count FCS games as the last win to qualify for a bowl game.
And you put some thought in this. All right, Corey, I gave you 1 minute. Let me go to Ellis. Ellis, 1 minute. Go.
What's going on?